Wild.
It has been a while.
I'm rusty, man. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so are we live right now?
Yep.
Is that what it says? Oh yeah, us 10 seconds in. Oh man, yeah. I haven't done this in a while. Um, been a little rusty. I actually had to get the StreamYard and try to navigate this to make sure I know how to operate it. So luckily, we still have some of our slides and backgrounds um, like that here. Looking pretty cool. So at least that's all functional and working. And
Yeah. It's probably been almost a year since we've done one on the Losi page.
dude,
It's been a little bit.
I think it's been over a year for sure. I can't remember when the last one was, but this kind of all started with the talking with TLR stuff um, because of the COVID, right? Like
Yep.
we had nothing
Every
to do.
Thursday.
Yeah, there was like no racing, nothing to talk about, but there was like still stuff happening. Cars were still being released. We just released our 22X4. You know, just around COVID, it's like, oh man, we launched our car in the worst time possible, where people
Yep.
can't even go and enjoy the car, really. You know, so it was a tough launch, but I think it's doing very well. All right, looks like we got 60 plus and growing so far. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to TLR Live with Dakotah Phend. I'm your host today. For those who are, I guess, with us when we were doing the talking with TLR, I was talking with Dakotah about how we used to do this pretty regularly. It was once a week for probably 3 months, four
Yep.
months, I would say. And Dakotah was a regular guest. I had other guests on here as well, and we would touch base and just talk about racing and some of the other good stuff going on. So it's been a while. So I apologize we haven't done this. It's hard to actually. I was thinking about like why do we stop doing this? You know, they're fun, they're informative, but I guess back when we didn't have any racing, we had the time, the luxury to dig into topics like this. But now that racing's full speed, it's almost every week. I was gone for 5 weekends in a row, back to back to back to back to back to back, and then finally I got a weekend here. So when I'm in a stretch like that, it's really hard to schedule up a quality talk, and I don't want to have a guest on just to fill the blank and making that worthwhile. Because after a while, if that happens a lot, we'll just lose a lot of people coming, stopping
Yeah.
by, watching, and viewing.
March is always crazy too. There's
This
always a lot going on in March. There's always at least two races, and then Night's Challenge is always end of February. So it's you get those four races that are pretty close together, and they're all big ones too. So you got that Nationals, Desert Classic, all within a month of each other. So it's
yeah,
pretty insane.
there was a lot of good races I really couldn't miss. I wanted to be a part of, and just to make sure everything's going well, and we have some sort of direction as a team. And I think for me, it's fun for me to be at the races and to connect with everybody, because it's hard to obviously connect with people and team drivers around the nation and the world when you're just behind a computer. So any opportunity I get to have. Um, where I get to be around other team drivers and participate in their racing or watch them. I always have a great time. So I don't mind the long trips. Obviously, I just need some time to recoup. But let's. So we got a pretty good viewership now. Looks like about 100 viewers so far. So let's just start off with first. I want to say congratulations on an awesome job,
Thank you.
well done at the 2022 Fuel Nationals, the Roar Nationals at Adobe Raceway. Did you think the weekend was going to happen similar to that, or did you? I mean, obviously it was maximum results weekend, and that doesn't happen very often, or if ever, in Fuel 8 scale.
Yeah, I mean it's been. I mean, there's definitely been some years where we've had really good practice, really good qualifying. It hasn't worked out, so um, take that with for what it is now and kind of just keep an eye on the main goal on Sunday mains. But it was really nice to have a good Southern Nats and AMS to end last year, and then DNC we had some good speed. Didn't work out exactly, but this track Nationals was a lot more similar to Southern Nats and AMS surface wise, and the track was pretty technical, which I think really suits me with my 10 scale background. So I knew kind of coming into it that I knew the stuff would be good. You know, I knew that as long as I gelled with the layout, you know, we'd have really good speed, and was really just kind of a solid weekend in general. We were really consistent, had good speed in practice and seeding, and we're kind of like right there in the top five in both. And then you know, same thing with qualifying in the main. So it was just nice to kind of be like have that steady pace the whole time and have those good consistent results. You know, the blazing speed is always nice, but just being able to be, you know, at that good benchmark the whole time, the whole weekend was really nice. And I mean, we made some changes and stuff, but cars were pretty solid to start, and then we just kind of, you know, worked together as a team and made the right decisions.
Yeah, it was. I kind of knew you would have a good weekend from your second tank on the track. I think I've watched your driving enough now to kind of get a good feel of when you feel dialed on the track or comfortable. And I think when I see you have that extra comfort like right away,
Mm-hmm.
I know the other guys are in for a pretty tough weekend. Just because once you get a track dialed, it's amazing how you're able to extract so much speed out of the car and to the track and just put it together. And I was like, okay, second tank in, and he's looking comfortable. This is going to be a pretty solid weekend. I'm just crossing my fingers, that nothing happens because this is eight
Yeah,
scale.
yeah,
Like it's the highs, the super highs, and the super lows. Uh, many times in one weekend, even you can go from one qualifier from not finishing to TQing and then back to not finishing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's these are heartbreaker races, and so there's a lot of time and effort put into these races, and I don't think people really know like the amount of everything has to be perfect to be able to have a solid weekend, let alone
yeah.
try to win a race, a nationals, in two
Yeah, and
classes.
there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. I mean, the from what I heard from the World Race, the rocks was a huge concern with the random
Yeah,
flame outs, and we saw it not a ton, but quite a few times in qualifying and racing and stuff. People would just have those random flame outs, and it wasn't,
yeah,
you know, the tune or anything like that. It was just hitting the rocks or landing just right and the rock poking up. And we saw the wind. The wind was a pretty big factor in the Truckee main.
dust.
It was pretty insane just from the drivers, and I'm sure
We
watching
had
and
dust
marshaling.
storms. Like we had literally a dust storm, like just spinning around in the pits, just filling all the pits up at one point. I was like,
It
oh
was
my god, what are we doing here in a windstorm, dude? So yeah, there were some pretty crazy moments. Eight skill is one of those things where you don't really know what you're gonna get. It's you gotta always be adapting, even to the weather, for instance. So let's talk about your racing history, your background. Your mom tells me that you haven't won. Your mom actually, we got to hang out a lot this
mhm.
week, at Nationals weekend, and she tells me a lot of these like Dakotah like accomplishments. She has everything written down, so
Yeah.
they're all recorded. She knows everything, all your racing history. She has your lap times when you were 10 years old. So uh, really detailed, obviously. But
Yeah.
she said you haven't in all your accomplishments, you still haven't been able to win a 8 scale national title. So how close were you in the past, or I mean, did you have good chances before?
Yeah, I won I won Truggy back in 2014, but yeah, it was my first Nitro Buggy Nationals, and there's been a lot of, oh, hang on a second, we got the dog going crazy here. Give me
Somebody stopped by. Literally, Dakota will say one word, and the dog like whimpers back, tail between the legs, and goes into its kennel. And
There we
usually
go.
his dog
I,
knows what's going on real quick.
man,
One quick snap, and then the dog. I
yeah,
was just telling the audience, the dog, like your dog, adopted dog, 3-legged dog, awesome personality. Anyway, he starts barking and acting all crazy, and you'll just say one word or something, and then the dog goes whimpering back to its
yeah,
kennel and just sits there for a while in timeout. Dude, it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, he's good. He's been a little bit of mood today. We had some deer in the backyard, so
Oh,
I brought him up.
feisty.
I brought him up here with me, and he found something else to bark at. So,
It gets feisty over there.
oh, it was a good time.
Yeah, so where were we? Your mom tells me you haven't won an 8 skill national title yet. And I was, if you think about your caliber, your accomplishments, you would think that this is something you've had already accomplished maybe a few times.
Yeah, like I said, I had won Truggy back in 2014. Had a really good close battle with Ty the whole main, and that was my only Truggy one. And I have never won a buggy up till this point, so was a pretty big accomplishment. Definitely something to check off that bucket list I've been trying for a long time. It's been a long 10, 11 years trying to get this done, where I've had a chance at it, and however and whatever the reason was, it hasn't worked out. I've been really close before. I've been within I think like 2 or 3 tenths before. I've had
Two or three tenths. What do you mean? Like
yeah,
you lost the title by 2 or 3
yeah,
tenths? Like
yeah.
a drag
That
race
was
down like to
back
finish?
yeah back in 2012 in Pennsylvania. That was really I believe the year before that I had finished on the podium. It was at Thunder Alley, and I finished third. And that was my first time being on the podium. And then 2012 got second, a couple tenths out of the win, and then from there just had some super bad luck for a really long time. Seems like it always happened at nationals. We'd have had good pace a lot of times. I've TQ'd quite a few of them. I don't know exactly how many, but I've TQ'd over 5 the last 10 years, and I've never been able to walk away with the win. So definitely been some heartbreak, been some tough ones. But I've been on the podium a few times, and just had to keep plugging away, and
12,
hopefully
12 years in
hopefully
the making, guys. So for those who have set out goals and haven't reached them yet, this one took 12 years. So just to kind of put things in perspective, as great as and as fast as Dakotah is, it took him 12 years. So hard work pays off. And things don't just come as quick and easy as everybody would like it to be. I feel like this day and age, people are looking to win, and get on that travel team like 2 years into racing, and it just doesn't really happen that way. It's just a lot of time and effort and experience that goes into trying to win a national title, be at that podium level. So you hear that, Kevin Abbott? It takes a long time, man. So you still have a chance. You still have a chance to get that oval championship win that you're hoping to get.
there you go.
I just wanted to go through and say hi to some of the guys that are viewing. I actually forgot that you can see the chat on this thing, so I clicked on the comments. I'm like, oh, there's people watching.
We got a lot of them.
We can interact with some.
They're all coming in at once.
Hi. Yeah, if we can say hi with everybody. So Kevin Abbott, thanks for watching. We got Matt Miller in the house. Thanks for tuning in. Also, my man Matt Morris. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Colin Branch. Hope you had fun at the King of the Streets. Austin Cracknell, good to see you online with us. And hopefully, he asked me about getting a nitro truggy or something like that. I'm like, oh, e-truggy, huh? So
Oh, yeah.
he's gearing up for e-truggy, baby.
Pull it out for P&B. It's coming up later this week, man.
I need some guys in e-truggy. So we got Corey. What's going on? Been in contact with Corey with the new drivers for the quarter for TLR and Proline. He's been pretty active in the final day. So he came through with all these drivers I got to go review in the final day. So he's left me a lot of work to do, catch back up on. So did you. You got me your expenses right at the very end too. So
yep.
I got your expenses. So I got to process that after this video and get that going so everybody's happy.
Just in time.
Yeah, Leo, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. We've got Mr. Givens in the house. Always to see you. Like to see your posts online. Always some good posts. JS. Don't really know what that stands for, but GS, thanks for tuning in. Kyle Chasen, what's up? Nancy, there you go. Your mom's in the house saying, keeping track, like she's timing this to see how long our interviews go, and then if you do a bad job or not. Your likes were, but your viewership was below 50. You guys need to do something.
A little more work.
We're trying.
We're newbies again at this.
Yeah, we're only amateurs at this. So we got Dan Taylor in the house, Mike Marshall, Vinny. We got a lot of good people here. Hunter King, man, did you see the picture of Hunter King and his doppelganger, Tyler Hooks? I saw them together in a photo. Twins, man, brothers.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's step brothers. All right, you got Lance McDonald, dude. Looking forward to your emails. Hopefully, we got good things coming. Justin, what's happening? Jerry Turner, man, you got a lot of people say hi to Delaware Pro. I don't know, maybe you're from Delaware and you're the pro. Hunter King, yeah, their shout out to DP on the sweep. Nice job there. Uh, Joe Jr., what's going on, buddy? Thanks for saying hi. And we got Tim Sutherland, the Sutherlands. What's going on? Hope you and Nate and everybody's doing well. We got Casey. Oh man, Casey, what's going on? I hope your son had a good birthday. That was a pretty cool birthday present. Jerry, what's happening? And Tony and Raz. So we got a lot of people. Well, I'll continue with the highs as we go. Thanks for tuning in, though. I appreciate everybody kind of taking some time watching the live video here. Like I said, we haven't done this in a while, so it's kind of cool to do and something to talk about, obviously, with Dakotah's awesome accomplishments at the World Nationals. So, build up to the race. We kind of talked about it a little bit when I asked you if you had, if you thought the weekend was going to go this way.
Yeah.
Who do you feel like before the race was happening? Who do you feel like had chances to win? Who did you feel like was going to be your main competitors?
I mean, there's the crazy thing now. There's so many people that can come to these races and win, and you're looking at the semis and the quarterfinals, and it's just crazy how many people and how much talent there is in the industry now. And there's so many drivers that have a chance to win. Obviously Mayfield and the eight scale scene has been pretty dominant over the last few years, with a lot of wins, especially on the national scene. So obviously he was going to be a favorite. Spencer and Ty are always fast. Jared's always really solid and quick, especially on these technical tracks with bumps and stuff. So there's a lot of guys that can show up and win, and it wouldn't be a surprise. So really kind of just did what we could do. We did the prep work. Barry worked his butt off. The weeks coming up to that, same thing with Dunford, just trying to make sure that we had the best chance possible. And it was, like I said, it all just worked out, and the whole team did a great job working together.
Yeah, it was awesome. I I got stuck doing the Proline truck. I shouldn't say stuck. I had the privilege of doing the Proline truck. It was, obviously, I would say about 10, 15, 15 feet away from the TLR 10, so not too far away, so I could skip over and make sure everything was going well, and everybody was working hard. And I'd ask you periodically how things going in here, and I'd ask Dunford how he thought things were going. So every time I asked you guys said everything was good, everybody's getting along. Changed a few things, and always looking to improve the speed. So you guys obviously worked really well together. I was really happy because I think for me, I was telling somebody this story a couple days after you won, and I was like, for the first time, I kind of actually felt like a team manager, because I was kind of monitoring on the outside, right? I was doing the Proline truck, and I would just kind of check in and see what's going on, and I didn't have to do anything and step in or try to get involved or butt in and jam everything up or maybe help sometimes, so like I felt like everything was going well. You guys are working awesome together. So I got to sit back and just kind of see the team work together without really being one of the pieces that actually has to turn it all the time. So for a team manager, I think for me, being able to see that and see the team come together, work together, and fight for the same goals was really cool to experience. As much as my ego and my I guess A-type personality wants to get in there and be a part of everything and be part of the show. I'm just naturally more of a B-type personality, so I just kind of would rather lay back low in the scenes and just let things work. And you guys did awesome. Like I said, I didn't have to butt in. I didn't have to, have any special chats or talks. So we did have that one little dinner thing, but we got through that. And, I spoke with everybody, and everybody was, receptive of it and understood what was going on. And we didn't have any problems after that. And I don't expect us to have any problems. ever again. So I think, yeah, so it was a beautiful thing to watch. The team just really worked
Yeah,
well
it was
together
really cool.
without me having to butt in and be part of every little piece. So it was awesome. Made my job easy, and obviously, sometimes it looks like I'm not doing anything, but I think a lot of the work is kind of done for me before the race even happens, like
Mhm.
getting very, all the things that he needs to go testing, for you guys to have your testing days and scheduled up so that you can get what you need from the car. We keep learning and pushing, and just having everybody, speaking with everybody since Silver State, actually, and making sure everybody's on the same page because we all have the same goals. Sometimes there's a little bit of difficulty in communicating with each other, because if we have the same goals, then all we need to really do is figure out how to work with each other. And then
Yeah, yeah, figure out that direction.
yeah, and if we can figure that out, how you can work with Barry, how Barry can work with Dunford, how Dunford can work with you, vice versa, all these different elements. If everybody is on the same page and working well together, I think our potential to have great results and great weekends is, just super high. So that was been my goal and I was hoping that things would work out that way, where I didn't have to manage anything and everything was, just I would say almost nearly perfect. So
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great. Barry ended up running the 40 plus, so he was able to go out, do some testing, kind of get some knowledge and stuff for us. And then in practice and stuff, I believe me, Cav, and Anthony were in different heats for the most part. So
yep.
we were able to kind of go out there and, try different stuff, learn some stuff. I think we all kind of made changes based off of, each other's knowledge and stuff and things that, the other drivers had tried and learned. So it was a really cool experience. It was really cool how the team gelled and how we were able to kind of all take each other's knowledge and use it to our advantage as a team and not just individual. And obviously, you saw that with the results, with everybody, doing really good and having a good solid weekend. And it was nice. We were able to we had that speed from the beginning, so we were able to kind of work on just the drivability and getting the car to function driving the track how we wanted to. We didn't have to worry about, making changes, trying to go faster, get those lap times. The car had the speed, and then we just adjusted it to get it more comfortable for, ourselves and for the track conditions. The track conditions did change quite a bit. So first day, it was pretty wet. They kept it watered that way it could groove up. And then second day, ran it pretty dry with the roar practice and got pretty off pretty quick. It was quite the surprise. So we had to make some adjustments for that. And then from there, the track stayed pretty consistent and just slowly changed as the weekend went on. But yeah, we were able to get everything dialed in and just make those adjustments and changes for adapting to the track and then just driving in general.
Yeah, it was awesome, just to know that we had the speed and we had the team to kind of get that all done. So, and I knew that inside that we had the right pieces, but you don't know until you go out there and prove it. So for you to be able to do that for yourself and for TLR and for everybody else that was involved in this program, then it's, I think for all of us, we're super excited, stoked, and the results couldn't be any better. So let's talk about, you already mentioned it, we'll swing into practice and qualifying. Let's just jump into the qualifying sessions with Truggy and Buggy, and then we can talk about the Buggy mains, and then we can do the Truggy main, and then jump into the Buggy main real fast. So qualifying practice was we had that one day. I don't know if you guys watched it at all, but there was one day where the track went to, I don't know what happened. What happened? I mean, like they just stopped watering the line, and then they watered the edges. And once they started doing that, the track went to crap the whole entire day.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming it has something to do with roar. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But yeah, the first day when it was just the track practice, it was watered every day. Which makes sense. It's a new track. It's a green track, so get that water down, let it groove up, and not fall apart. And then the second day they switched it up a little bit, and I didn't really water the line at all the whole day, and it got rough really, really, really quick. And we were kind of all wondering what was going to go on for the rest of the week. How are we going to be able to get around? But Tim Tim put the work in, and track was pretty awesome the whole weekend. It was definitely pretty rough by the time Nitro Buggy came around, but we were able to still get around, and it's nationals is supposed to be tough. So it stayed, like I said, stayed pretty consistent after that second practice day, and just slowly got rougher as the weekend went on. And
Getting on the
yeah,
straightaway
yeah,
was disastrous. You didn't
it
know
was.
what you were getting every time you would get on.
Yeah, the video doesn't do it justice. Even driving, I went and walked the track after the main, and I was pretty amazed by how much it had broken down over the weekend. Even before the main started, just by the time after the main, the track had changed. Some just with not having water for an hour in the track. The car's just beating on it consistently. Over and over again for an hour. It was pretty rough in the back. That little pie wedge in the corner was pretty much gone. It was just a cliff you run into, and then cliff you'd go down, and then it was super choppy and bumpy pretty much 3/4 of the way down the straightaway, and then you had a small gap, and then started the braking bumps at the end of the straight. So it was really tough. There was a line if you went really, really wide and went all the way outside, which turned into the inside, or you could kind of tuck against that inside pipe that ended up being outside, and I kind of straight shot it, but it was pretty risky, and hard to see back there. But we'll get into turkey qualifying. It was a really, really solid qualifying effort the whole time.
Yeah, so you got round 1, you got a 2. Round 2,
Yep.
you got a 2. Round 3 and 4, you ended up TQing. So was there? I mean, it seemed like you had the pace in truck the whole weekend. It seemed like, yeah, coming out from practice into qualifying, you had no problems, and everything looked pretty solid from what I saw. And the qualifying results obviously were awesome too.
Yeah, the first couple qualifying rounds are good. Was really close the first round and just missed it out on that one from Jared. And it seemed like it was going to be a battle with him all weekend long, which it was. And yeah, I just had a couple small mistakes the first day, the first 2 qualifiers. Nothing too crazy. I don't think I had any marshals or anything like that, but just bumping pipes or casing jumps or things like that. So the speed was good. We really wanted to work on just getting the truck a little bit easier to drive, settling that rear down a little bit, and we were able to make some changes and really do that, and then come out on Saturday for the 3rd and 4th round and throw down some good times.
I just got the okay that we could talk about this because I was curious, because I didn't want to get in trouble if we were talking about this. So when did you put on the rear sway bar mod for the Truggy? So
yeah, so I believe we did that going into Saturday for Q3.
Okay, so sway bar mod goes on for this final day of qualifying.
Yeah, I believe it was for Saturday.
Yeah,
it's been something we've been talking about for a little bit, and after Nitro Challenge, we kind of were talking about it, and we're able to make it happen there at Nationals, and just like that, just kind of tame the rear down, made it a little bit more consistent, easy to drive.
So for those who are watching, the 113 of viewers currently watching, they did a rear sway bar mod to the rear of the 8XT. And basically what they did was grind in the rear A-arm a spot to mount the sway bar link wider out. So if you can find a sway bar that's wide enough so that you can mount the sway bar on the rear wider, what that's going to do is provide you a smoother transition. And you can also benefit from using a lighter bar because of the leverage point there. I think the trick is being able to move to a lighter bar so that the rear end isn't as stiff, and they don't impact each other. When one side hits, a stiffer bar will move the other side and kind of get the truck doing things that you might not want to do. So like Dakotah said, we talked about it at DNC. It's something I've done in my 10 scale sway bar for the 2-wheel. Instead of mounting the sway bar where it's located on the rear of the 2-wheel with the stock rear sway bar, you can mount it and drill an extra hole that's wider to make the action a little smoother. So, and then Barry also had the same idea, and that I think his idea kind of ventures over from on-road. So all of us kind of had this idea. We haven't really done the testing on it. So we're like, hey, why not? Let's see if this
Yeah.
makes your rear more smooth and predictable, and just kind of have a better flow around the track. So when you guys did that, I thought the truck looked a lot smoother and just a touch more predictable and stable for you to manipulate around a really tough fast track.
Yeah, the goal is to try to get that more consistent rear end, have it maybe have a little bit more rear grip, but not lose that steering and the rotation once you get into the corners. So we ended up going from a 2.6 center bar to a 2.4 bar, and then just mounted it farther out, so that leverage point is different. And the nice thing was is that I did have those first 2 good rounds. So I was thinking that I'd probably be in the top 3 no matter what with those first 2 rounds. So that was something nice. It was nice to have those good results, and we could kind of tinker a little bit and mess around and make those changes and see if we could make progress. If you're in the hole, if you start out with 2 bad rounds or 1 bad round or whatever it may be, you're kind of in that hole where you don't want to make too many crazy changes. You don't, you have to get that good point still. So that was nice to be able to have that freedom to kind of move around, make some changes, and it paid off in that.
Oh, Dunford chimed in. He texted me and says, 2.8 to a 2.6, buddy.
Oh, 2.8, 2.6.
So I wanted to throw that out there. Obviously, we don't want to give false information and people, because hey, those guys are liars. They're giving out fake setups.
We did that.
I know how this goes.
I
know the fake setup thing. So no, we don't share fake setups. We don't botch stuff up to hide things. So if we can talk about it, we'll talk about it. But if we can't talk about it, then I'll just say I just can't talk about it. So yeah. So 2.8 bar. So that's obviously a very thick bar. And when you go down to a 2.6, that's a pretty big drastic change. And being able to get that sway controlled, but in a smoother fashion, I think it's definitely beneficial for the truck, because there's some races when the truck's just spot on and dialed, and there's some races where it's just missing a little bit, and it seems to be that comfort, the ability to push and be 100% sure of what the rear end's doing to predict what you can do with the truck. So there you go. I highlighted this comment. Did you steal that gray shirt from Mike Sontag? He's the only one that I ever see wearing one in the team picks. Yeah, he makes his own funny custom gray shirts. I don't even know where they come from, but yeah, I think he makes them himself, and he does a pretty decent job. So no, this is actually a factory TLR shirt from last year. Unfortunately, our current shirts are back orders, so I can't even get one of the new shirts unless I have it specially made. So I don't know if I'm into the special shirts anymore. I just want to just rock the factory shirts and just have a few of those, I think. So, all right. So yeah, Mike Sontag. I'm getting compared to Mike Sontag.
I think he just prints them out in his basement, grabs some tape, and just slaps them on the front of his shirt.
Yeah, I think he stenciled them out with Scotch tape, and then it peels them up and then sprays paints and with like spray cans and rattle cans. Yeah, they're pretty down. If you need some shirts, hit Mike Sontag up.
Oh man,
he'll hook you up.
Poor guy.
Oh, dude, it's funny. We'll talk about Mike a little bit in when we talk about your program. So, okay, so Trey was awesome. Qualifying went well. The mains, how did that go for you? I have it on cue, so you go ahead and talk about it, and we can just kind of play this on the background as we discuss some of the stuff. And we can fast forward some of this stuff. But star of the race, let's hear what your thoughts were.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Trey had been solid the whole weekend practice qualifying. So going into the main event, had some good confidence in that. Definitely had a little bit of a scare. Had a bad batch of OS plugs for the practice, for the main practice. So wasn't able to really do mileage or get the tune on the motor. So I was a little bit stressful, but we threw a new plug in for the main. Everything was good to go. Got the Ultimate motors tuned up perfect. Super easy. Kind of found that sweet spot again, and was able to go out there and get a good start. And really kind of just run my own laps. They had some mistakes pretty early on, and kind of fell back where, I already, have a little bit of a gap here right away in the first lap. and really was able to just kind of run my own race and not have to worry about the people behind me, kind of throwing it on me or, having to run tight lines or anything like that. I could just go out there, do my own thing, run my laps, and it was super nice. We went for the extra stop, or the one less stop. I'm going a little bit longer and not having to stop. So I did 9-minute stops with it being a 45-minute race, and had plenty of fuel left. Was super easy to make actually. Like I said, I wasn't sure exactly how close because weren't able to do run time in the aiming practice, but was putting in like 120 125 cc's of fuel in like 150-ish cc tanks, so had plenty of fuel to spare. Could have probably done 10-minute stops if I needed to. So that was even more, that was another 5 or 6 seconds that I had in my back pocket. And I believe the only other person who did that, the 9-minute stops as well, was Mayfield. So, besides him, I had already had a 6-second gap before going into the main event. So that was another huge advantage as well. And yeah, they're just kind of, they kind of just had some mistakes, kind of getting to rhythm and stuff. And I just felt really comfortable right from the start. I was able to hit my lines pretty spot on, and was able to get to race pace, from the first lap, and just kind of get into that rhythm really quickly. Sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes a few laps to get going, and sometimes you just go out there and you're feeling it, and everything works out.
What is the strategy here for you, like going into this race? All right, your driver announcements done. You're doing your warm up laps. Your pit guys out there, got the startup box ready. He's feeling you up. Like, are you thinking about your strategy? Are you thinking about your opening laps? Are you worried, like thinking about what's going on in the preparation? Like, you're sitting TQ, like what's the game plan going into the race?
Yeah, I mean, I know with Jared starting second that I don't have to worry about him doing anything too crazy, getting into me or anything like that. He's just going to kind of chill behind me, run a race, and just try to kind of get away from the pack before we start racing. So I knew I didn't really have to worry about that, from behind right away. And I'm normally usually pretty good at getting off the line and getting going those first few laps. And after that, really just concentrating on not making a mistake. Like I said, I had a gap pretty early on within the first couple laps, so was able to just really concentrate on hitting my lines, not try to go crazy fast, but just stay consistent and smooth, and really just try to get to that first pit stop. Be in the lead still, and then kind of go from there and see where we're at. You can lose a lot of time in the beginning, and you can lose a lot of positions where, kind of once you get back in the pack, you're kind of just hammering on each other and going back and forth 24/7. So when you start out front, it's really important to kind of take that advantage you have and just stay out front. And then see where you're at the first pit stop. If you need to, people are catching you or need to go a little faster or whatever it may be, just get to that first pit stop. Most of the guys that are behind you, when you're at this pro level, they're kind of thinking the same thing. So like I said, they're not going to do anything stupid. They're not going to throw it in on you or, get kind of crazy. So just had that mindset. Just don't make mistakes. Don't have to get marshaled. Get to the first pit stop and go from there. Make adjustments from there. I didn't know exactly, like I said, I didn't know exactly where I was at mileage wise. I had done it in qualifying and stuff, but a different day. It was a lot colder as well on Sunday, so kind of had to take that into consideration, and just drove easy. Got the pit stop by Mike and Chloe, and they were able to kind of give me some information on gaps and just how much fuel I used, and then was able to make some adjustments if I needed to, and go from there.
So from all the conversations I have with Mike and stuff, like, and just from you and your preference, you're actually one of the drivers that doesn't like a lot of communication while you're racing.
Yeah, I don't really like a ton. Normally, really the only thing he'll say is when to pit. And then he always lets me know about fuel mileage as well after we do the pit. After he looks at the gun and sees how much I used. And then besides that, it's really kind of up to me to communicate with him and let him know what I need. Whether it be, most of the time it's just gaps. So every few minutes or so, if it's kind of, sometimes it gets a little hard to tell where you're at generally. And I'm able to kind of just ask, hey, is the gap staying the same? Is it closing down? Where is it exactly at? Once you get farther on into the race, it gets actually really difficult just because of the different pit stop strategies. Someone might look like they're, 15 seconds back, but they don't, they already did that pit stop. So that may be accurate how it's going to be at the end of the race. But you kind of get in that comfort zone. You're like, oh, I have all this time, and then you'll do your pit stop, and then they'll come out, pretty close to you again. So just really keeping an eye on that where I'm at compared to the other guys behind me, and if they're catching me, if I'm pulling away, or if it's just staying the same. So that's really the only thing I really ask. I'm not really asking about lap times or anything like that. And then we have obviously the announcer Kenny kind of giving some information as well. So that's always helpful. And kind of can, like I said, I can generally keep an eye on where everybody's at. I know who's in second, who's in third, and stuff like that. But sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to see that exact gap if it's coming up or down, a second or two.
Right. When did you feel in this race you had it like, okay, I'm winning this thing. It's over. If everything finishes, no, there's no issue. There's no rock in my flywheel. There's no weird mishap, glow plug, this, that. Like, when did you feel like this Traeger race is mine?
Yeah,
Last pit stop, or?
I felt great the whole time. I got a good gap pretty early on and was able to kind of keep it right in that like 10 to 14 second range. By no means a huge gap, as we'll talk about later on in the Nitro Buggy final. But decent gap where I can kind of, I'm not stressed out. I'm just doing my thing. And Mayfield really kind of put a charge on. I think like probably about halfway into the race. From that point to like 15 minutes left, he put a pretty good charge on. Made up probably like 5 seconds or so, and it got, I think, like around like an 8 second range. So it's still like 15-20 minutes to go. He had reeled me in enough where it wasn't by no means a huge gap. If I had one crash, he'd be within 2-3 seconds of me. So that's a little bit closer than I wanted to, especially since he was reeling me in. And then I think he just had a couple mistakes on his part, pushing really hard, and was able to get that gap back up. So I'll probably say once there was probably like 10-15 minutes left in the race, when I had that, like, I think it was about like 14 seconds or something like that. Once I had that gap with 10 minutes left, it was I'd say it was a lot easier to manage that and kind of just chill across the line, not make any mistakes, landing the jumps nice and easy, not over jumping anything, not taking any risks in the back straight, and just really kind of hitting the lines and letting the truck flow around the track.
Yeah, so here we are, a minute 25 left here, and yeah, it's just always fun. It's taken me a while to watch the race after, like from live RC, but man, it looks so much faster on video. Like it looks like the car's bouncing all over the place. Like when you're actually there, you see it bouncing around, but you know it's pretty bad. But on the video and it being a couple weeks later, man, it's like, geez, there's some gnarly sections on this track. What section of the track was your most challenging? What element here?
Man, I think this section right here, that corner was really hard to see. So you jump that double, and then there's a single right there, and the pipe kind of kinks out and comes to a point. And you can see the pipe, but you can't see where the point is on the end of the pipe. So really that whole weekend, you get a good feel, and you kind of know where generally you're at. But every once in a while, you might, you don't really know how close you are until you hit the pipe.
Yeah.
Once you hit the pipe, you're like, okay, I'm too tight. But up until that point, you don't really actually know how close you are.
Yeah. That is such a, like, if you're actually on the driver's stand and you look at that turn, you can't really see anything there. You can't really see there's a bump mound, in the turn. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so that was tough. The split lane was pretty tough as well. Both the options were not easy. I would say the outside line was a little bit more simple. You just had to make sure you had to kind of have that little kink as you're exiting. You had to make sure you didn't hit that pipe. And then if you went inside, you had to be kind of careful that you didn't hit the single too fast. I had one of my 12 hours in buggy. I hit the first single too fast on brakes, and it kind of nosed down into the face of the second one and kind of spun me around backwards. So you had to be careful with that, those singles. If you go a little wide after the second single, then you would lose a lot of time. We had been doing the outside lane for most of practice and qualifying, so the inside never really got that grip level that the outside lane did. So you really just had to make sure you get your braking point correct and you don't blow that corner, or you'll lose half a second super easy. There was a lot of technical spots.
It was a challenging track, but I think
there was a lot of technical spots.
I think a lot of people actually enjoyed driving on it. No one knew what they were getting, so everybody was kind of in the same boat. No one's really had a race there before. They added new dirt, so like no one had it down. So it was cool to see, us show up and everything work out well. And the Truggy main, I was like, oof. After you crossed the line and here you are, like I paused it here. I love that. Okay, so if you guys don't know, he's wearing goggles now because it's during the day, obviously super bright, and the goggles help keep the dust, because there was a lot of dust storm going through.
Yeah, especially in Truggy. There was a couple of moments where I swear every driver just stopped driving. You actually, I don't think the video does it justice how windy it was, but there was a couple of moments where you honestly, even with my goggles on and my eyes open, you couldn't see your car. I mean, there was this storm that blew through. It was pretty crazy, and it just blew through, and then it was gone. But you couldn't see your car for a couple seconds. And I'm sure there was a couple people that crashed, depending on where they're at. But it was just one of those things. Like, you just got to wait, and hopefully you find your car again soon.
So let's move on to the Nitro Buggy race. It was kind of at a different time. No one raced in the evening. We were finished by like 5 or 6 o'clock, every day. So we didn't have a race at 7, 8 o'clock at night. So we didn't really know what to expect. And it was kind of like in that in between time where there's a little bit of sunlight going down and almost dark, but not pitch black. And then we had the floodlights. And I remember you started off with the goggles, and then I think it was the first pit stop or a couple laps in, the goggles just came off flying. Like, I can't use these things. They just got chucked.
It was right. It was like as we were setting the cars down to go off on the tone, I just yelled Chloe, and I just threw them, and I'm pretty sure she caught them, but it was pretty last minute. Just because I didn't want what happened in Truggy. If I hadn't worn those in Truggy, I would have needed to have eye surgery afterwards. They would have just been sandblasted and just beat up. So I kind of wanted to go up there with the mindset like, hey, let's have the goggles on just in case. It had been windy some of the nights prior. As soon as the sun went down, the wind picked up again. So I kind of went up there with them. And with, with having lenses and stuff, I wanted to kind of let my eyes adjust to the different color a little bit. And did my practice. We're sitting there for the intros and stuff, and there's really no wind. And I'm kind of like going back and forth. This was my stressing at the moment, was trying to decide, do I wear goggles or not? And, with all the lights and stuff, obviously the glare from the lenses is a little bit more than if you aren't wearing lenses at all. So yeah, I kind of decided last minute, like, we're just gonna go for it, and took them off. And fortunately, it really wasn't windy at all during the Nitro Buggy main.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was at night, which I don't think we raced past 4, maybe 5 o'clock at the latest up until this point. Hot. So we kind of had to make some executive decisions before going out there as far as shock oil goes.
Yeah.
And then tires was a big thing. People were switching tires before the practice. People were switching tires during the practice. People were switching tires after the practice. It was a mess. I just went up there with what I had been running the whole weekend, which was the J Concepts Blue Recons. I felt comfortable with them. I knew they were really good in the bumps from the testing we had done at Nitro Challenge. So I knew they'd be solid in the bumps. I knew they were good with the car and had good speed. Really, the only concern was with them being in blue compound. is it going to be too hard or not? So not only was it at night and the sun was going down, but it was also 10, 15 degrees colder throughout the
Right.
day compared to Saturday or Friday. So kind of had to think about that as well, and went into it knowing, hey, my car is going to have less grip, the track's going to have less grip, and not really sure exactly how that's, what exactly it's going to feel like. The nice thing with that is that we knew that, the oils, the diff oils and the shock oils weren't going to overheat. We knew the tires weren't going to overheat. I don't think we really had that concern, but it was just nice to be extra careful and know that, you don't even have to think about that. You don't have to think about tire wear. You don't have to think about any of that. And the nice thing with the Recons is that they have a lot of pin flex. So I know that they're going to have more grip than a lot of other tires. So I'd rather go out on blues and have a little bit less grip and know they're going to stay the same than go out on greens and have them get too squirmy at the end. So I stuck with those the whole time, and it was the right decision. The track definitely had a lot less grip, so kind of had to adjust for that. And I think the main thing with that was you would make a mistake, and it was really hard to get going again. So you make a mistake, you're out in the dust, then you really have no grip at all, and you're trying to get going again. You're in the lead, you see the pack coming up behind you, and it was really easy to make a second or third mistake trying to get going again. When you're in your rhythm, everything's going well. You don't have to worry. And then I think they were calling them track sharks. They come up and bite you and knock you down a peg. And like I said, it was just really, really tough to get going again. I think most of the mistakes I made were were 2 laps. I think one of the laps I lost about 10 seconds, which
Yeah.
was not one of
There's
my best moments. And then
there's
another lap, I think I lost 7 or 8 seconds. And it was just, I'd make a mistake and I'd try to get going again. And it was just really tough out there. There was a lot of holes, and you had to be really, really precise. So even just trying to be careful and cruise, trying to get back into rhythm, you're more likely to make another mistake. So that really cost me a lot of time. And yeah, definitely unfortunate that I had those 2 laps. I made it a lot more stressful on myself and a lot of others. But
Yeah, those 2 laps, I was like, "Oh my god, we have another one of those? It's over." Because
yep.
obviously this race was pretty awesome to watch. It was much different than the Truggy. We had a good start here, but it slowly started to creep away, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a very, a race that Dakotah likes. You take the TQ position, you're able to kind of go at your pace, at your speed, and be able to check out and get a comfortable couple second gap, and then be able to kind of manage that the whole race, and then kind of hopefully build it upon it. So that was not the case. Obviously, that was what I'm pretty sure you wanted, and that's what I wanted. But this was the exact opposite of that kind of race, where it was basically you and Mayfield going toe to toe until the very end. There was like there's moments where like you get stressed out watching this, and I feel like sometimes when you're in the lead, I can go, okay, well, he's in the lead, he's looking good, he's got a comfortable gap. I'm gonna start packing up, and start to clean up a little bit and kind of start the teardown process, so that I'm not focused on the race and getting more stressed out. I'm like, okay, things look good. I'm just gonna start packing up. And this was I never left the track. I was there glued watching the whole time, and really it was you and Mayfield going head to head for the entire hour. So yeah, what a remarkable race to watch as a competitor, like as a diehard fan in this. It was just toe to toe with one of the 2 greatest drivers we have in the U.S., and it's just been awesome.
Yeah, we did a lot of yo-yoing, and it was a large yo-yo. We'd be 10 seconds apart, and then boom, we'd be back together again. In a couple moments, he actually got the lead with the different pit stops and just some mistakes on my own as well. And he'd have a few seconds on me, and then he'd make a mistake, and then we'd be back there battling again. I just kind of thinking back about it now, I mean, the track was just really insane to run on. They're just the pace that we were having to go, and how technical the layout was in general. Like most layouts, it's easy just to drive around, but to go that speed was really tough on this layout. You had to be extremely precise with your braking points and how you accelerate through this dragon back. You had to be really careful. You had to kind of let the car go down the two big humps, and then you could start to accelerate, or you get squirmy. That small double, you had to hit it in exactly the right spot, or you would buck another spot, you'd hit it, and it would jump really flat. So you had to be careful there. And then coming onto the back straight was pretty rough. The straightaway was rough. The 180 after the straightaway was really rough. That double, you had to pick your line. I mean, I could just go on and on. The whole layout by the time we were running this race was pretty gnarly, and it would just get you whenever you got comfortable. I had a few times where I had a pretty decent lead, and stuff just happened. I was fortunate enough. I put the ultimate motor to race tune, and we were able to do the 840 stops. I believe only one other driver did those, so that was really cool to be able to do that. I'm normally not a fuel mileage guy. And I think I was the only one that did that one less stop in both classes.
Is that weird? Is that weird? I feel like that's kind of new.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff is awesome. Ultimate stuff was on point all weekend with the Nitrolux fuel. Was pretty pumped about that, and it ran pretty flawless. I'm not gonna lie, I ran it pretty lean in the main event. I was a little stressed with how lean I was running it, but it made it happen, and I ran the whole race and did what it needed to do. So we made a little adjustment after the first pit stop. I was pretty close on fuel, so kind of had to adjust my driving a little bit. And Mike gave me that information. We made the adjustment, and after that, we were good to go on fuel. Didn't have to worry at all, and was able to go pretty hard after that last stop. I think he brought me in, and there was around 7 minutes left, or 7.5 minutes left. So I was able to go pretty much balls to the wall and battle it out with Mayfield, which we definitely did. And it came down to pretty much the last lap. Lap, I was able to kind of cruise around and single that double, but up until that point, it was full commitment with I think he ran the fastest lap of the race with 3 minutes left, and I had run my fastest lap of the race with 5 or 6 minutes left. So we were definitely both going for it, and was able to not really have any mistakes the last 6 or 7 minutes, and just kind of it's time to go. It's time to make this happen. It's been long enough at this point, and time to get it done.
Yeah, this is one of the parts part of the race where it changes completely. Mayfield loses his car here. Watch this. Do you see that guy? Did you see that?
Give a little kick.
There was a fan pushing it with his hands. Watch this. He's like,
Look at
that Mayfield fan getting it with his finger. Get through the fence. Got him corner marshaled off the fence, and then here you take over the lead off that mistake.
Yep.
It was a mistake on the straightaway, which is I think everybody had that mistake. You had a couple coming on the straightaway. I don't think you had too many coming off it, but Mayfield had a couple coming off it, but not really too many going into it. So
yeah, I think so. I didn't crash at the end of the straight, but I think my line kind of, I don't want to say it sucked, but it was definitely not the fastest line. I pretty much just went slow, went into the hole on the inside, and then kind of bounced out. Sometimes it would go really well. It definitely wasn't as consistent was lap time wise. Sometimes it would kind of buck a little bit funny if you hit it just right. But I didn't feel as comfortable going wide, and just for that reason, you're going a lot faster going wide. It's a lot easier to kind of hit dust, or you have to crank the wheel a lot more. And if you kind of hit that edge a little bit or bounce funny, then you can kind of fly off to the fence. So that was a kind of a conscious decision I made. I'm just going to go inside. I'm not going to get past if I go inside, and maybe I'll lose a little bit of time on some of the laps, but I know I'm not going to crash. I know I can get through it I can just kind of bounce my way through those bumps. And
Yep.
I kind of would be on the inside too once I on that little short straight there. And
See, you can see the difference between your line and his line on this last lap
yeah, they're a lot different,
right
lot
here.
different.
Like you're inside, go through the bump. He's outside and around everything.
Yeah,
But
and
you're
then
right.
he avoids the holes in that corner in the short straight as well, which was nice. But yeah, I was kind of just a decision I made. I wanted to play it safe there, and kind of decided that I was more comfortable in other areas and could kind of push in some of those other spots. So that's what I did. The car had really great steering in the tight 180s, so I was able to get in those and get out quick, and
Oh,
then had some really good acceleration as too out of the corners. So was able to kind of work on that and not have to worry about this end of the straight quite as much.
so there you go. Mayfield goes into the pits, and then you take over the lead here. We'll have 13 minutes left, so he's got 2 pit stops left. You've got 1 in this, so it'll be interesting. I can't. I think I watched it when you guys come out after your final pit stops, and it was dang close. Even then, like this dude was pretty relentless. I mean,
Yeah, it was within after the last pit stop. It was second and a half to 4 seconds, pretty much the whole time. So just I mean, we were both still kind of having mistakes. When you're running that pace, it's kind of really the only option is you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have bobbles, and it's just got to try to manage it and not have a crash. Maybe you bump a pipe or hit a bump sideways or whatever it may be, but you're not crashing, you're not having to get marshaled. And was able to do that. So I had most of my crashing really just kind of in the middle of the race. I had that one mistake coming on the straight here with not a lot of time left, but really most of my mistakes were just kind of in the middle of the race. And I think it's just the track was hard. I had a really good start and then kind of just wore me down a little bit. And maybe I got going too quick too early, and I didn't burn out or anything, but just you can only do so much for so long on this track.
yeah.
And I had all my mistakes in the middle, and then kind of like time to buckle down in the end and get rid of those mistakes and get back going again.
Yeah, so here is your final pit stop. You just did it. Mike just served you some fuel, and Mayfield takes over the lead, and he's got his pit stop to come into, and that's when the lead changes. And it's pretty remarkable here just to see how things play out. I think Mayfield comes in after the next lap after this one here, but
yeah, it was. I mean, it would have been easier if it wasn't this close, but I at least was close enough to be able to kind of pace off of him and stay close, knowing we both know that he still has to pit and I don't. So I'm like, if I can just follow him and stay close, there's no reason to try to pass him right now, but just get as close as I can to him. He goes in the pit, and I know I have those 4 or 5 seconds or so on him, and then it's just a race to the line from there.
So let me ask you again on this one. When did you feel like you had this one on lockdown? When was it? All right, this is I'm a 8-skill Roar national champion 8-skill buggy.
Yeah, I would say with 2 laps to go, I kind of like chilled out a little bit. I think the last lap, I started singling that double coming on the back straight, and then I did that on the last lap as well. And I had like 4 seconds, so at that point, I was able to kind of chill out a little bit and not take any crazy risks. I mean, even doing 30 seconds out there is a little scary. So was by no means safe. I don't think I felt really safe until I crossed the line, to be honest with you. But I would say on the last lap going down the straightaway, I was really starting to think about it and kind of trying to realize what was happening. But yeah, 2 laps to go, I started kind of like, okay, I did my push. I pushed all the way up until this point after the last pit stop, and now I can kind of relax a little bit. I have 4 seconds or so with 2 laps. I can manage that. And the worst thing you want to have is someone right on your butt the last lap. You don't want to come down to that. So I'd rather give it my all and try to keep a little bit of a gap and then chill out the last lap or so.
everybody's nerves just
Yeah,
probably
this has
shot at
been.
this point.
I
I mean,
mean,
Rip
it's
for
been
4
12
after
years in the
that.
making, and being able
Got
to
over the
watch
3. Fuller over the
you
top.
complete
My
one of your
goodness.
goals or
Terrific.
one of
Got a little sideways.
you know
Fuller stayed in the
accomplishments that
gas.
you've
Was
wanted
able
to
to
do
jump over for the pass.
um, and set out
Ripken
for a
looks to
long time.
retake,
It's
though, and
awesome
he
to be part of
does.
that, and
These two just getting a
kudos to
little
you,
too
the
close.
team. Obviously, all, they
Fuller
did
got a little
everybody
too
with
close
their
to the
part
pipe
in
and
it
hugged it just
was
enough to
fantastic to
pull
watch, and
himself up and let
just
Ripken
to just
die.
have a weekend like this because not
The
only did
association on the
you
screen
win two
above.
national titles,
Jay Concepts
uh,
instant replay.
Barry won
Fuller
his
over
40
the top.
plus,
Yeah.
and
Stretches out
then
after
Tater
touching the top
won
of
his
his knee.
15 and
Had to
under,
get on the
and
gas to
Tater,
get
man,
back
he
at it.
almost didn't even want to run that race.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being a pretty cool and historic weekend for just TLR and us as a group.
Fuller right
It
behind him.
was pretty amazing how it all ended up working out,
Yep, straightaway.
and
Fuller in the
yeah, kind of
orange.
one of those once in a lifetime events where it all just
I,
works out in the end, and you gotta take it and enjoy it. And
Ripken
it's
and
one of those
Fuller got
things that will
straightaway.
it'll
Fend
probably
doesn't
never
give
happen
up.
again
Fuller now
exactly
the gap is
like
up
this.
to
With
yeah, I
probably
don't
5 points
know if we
over
could ever
second. So Dakotah Phend with
recreate this
just the
and this kind of
tiniest
feat. I
of a
mean,
gap between him
the
and Mayfield.
expectation is going to be pretty hard to follow
127 to
up
go
just
in this
because
one.
it was flawless in terms of results. And, I you can't
Dakotah
win every
Phend,
single
he's
race
won
out there.
just about
So,
every national title
and here
there
we
is. The
go.
one that
Minute
eluded him is the
18 left
JDL
on
Nitro
Dakotah's
buggy.
final minute
Looking
here.
to finalize that
Just
here.
sealing up. What a great
Why
race
anyone would
to
question where
rewatch,
he's at in
to
his
be there
program.
and watch live, and just to be part of the team.
Dakotah Phend working his
Uh,
way up and over the
and
tabletop.
and
He's got
see
Mason
your
Fuller
accomplishments,
in
man.
front of him
It's
for third
a
to go
long
about the
journey,
lap.
but
Yeah,
Fuller giving
this
up
is
the
this is
position.
probably the most
Tucks in
probably the
behind
most like
Dakotah
frustrating
with
goal
50 seconds to go in this
I've
one.
had that I've tried to
This is going to
accomplish
be the
for
last
this
few
long.
laps. Dakotah knows
I
what's
mean,
at stake
obviously
here.
I have worlds on the list, but I mean this is
Knows how
just
difficult this track's been
this is that
already.
one on that
Fuller behind
checklist that
Mayfield is
has
not
just
out until the
plagued me
final bell
for
goes.
so long, and
35
I mean
seconds to
just
go in
anything
this
and
one.
everything that
Dakotah's
could
going to
happen
get
has
one
happened,
more.
and it's kind of just you get to that point you're like, what am I doing wrong? And
Taking a look at our
it
race leader,
felt really good
TLR,
to
Jay
finally
Concepts
make it
working his
happen and
way
check that off the
over the
list,
Dragon's back.
and
Fuller
hopefully
now electing
we'll
just a
keep it
single
rolling
single
here.
that back double
yeah,
position. Again, Fuller
It
on
was
the tail
kind of, I
position
mean,
in conservation mode.
it was kind of a bad timing,
Serve
when
to
we
third.
caught Mason and
Dakotah
Spencer because
Phend
they're trying
is
to
the
have their
starter
battle there
yeah,
victory lap with
third,
a
and me
yep,
and
3.7
Ryan are
gap
coming up on
him
them.
and
Of
Mayfield.
course, with like 5-6 minutes
Gap
left,
might have
so
grown just a
that
little
kind of
bit. Made
was
it
unfortunate.
3.7
The
for
timing of
Dakotah.
that,
His time expires. This is going to be
because
it.
I don't want
Dakotah
to
Phend,
mess
here
their
we
race
go. This
up, but
is
I
great. Jake to
can't really
start.
think
Ryan
about that.
Mayfield
At that
throwing
yeah,
moment, I'm
some
kind of
kind
just
of
like I got to
flag.
get through and
Second effort.
have clear track and go as fast as I can.
Dakotah
So
Phend down the
that was
straightaway.
kind of
Damien
bad
Long,
timing, but it
he
all
can
worked out in
smell
the
it as
end, and
Phend
was able
reaches
to
all
the
right,
get
finish
victory
through.
line.
lap.
Dakotah
Here you
Phend
go.
is going to
You
sweep
crossed the
the
line, and you're done,
2022
man.
Roar Off-Road Fuel
What is the
Nationals.
feeling like to finally accomplish something 12 years in the making here?
Yeah,
Like,
Emotional
I
what
was
for
was your
Dakotah
thoughts?
Phend. The one
I was
Just
title
pretty
he's
pumped.
relieved,
eluded of
or
all of these
Yeah,
years.
I would say relief, but
And what a weekend to
really
do it.
excited.
Dakotah
I'm
Phend
sure most of you
sweeps
guys know I'm not like the
qualifying
most
in both truggy
uh,
and buggy.
emotionally
Wins
open
the buggy
person,
man
and
and goes on to win the
going
one
crazy and stuff,
hour
but
Nitro buggy
it felt
race.
really good.
Congratulations,
Like I
Dakotah
said,
Phend,
it's been a
family.
really long time. There's been
Dakotah
a
will
lot of people
close
that have been
right
on this
there.
journey with me, so
Wow.
it was really cool to be able to do that.
Oh,
With
man.
everybody. It was really special to have my parents there as
Right
well.
there giving hugs. Thomas
They've been there
Trainer
since the
there
beginning, and
congratulating Dakotah
they've
as
been there for a
well.
lot of the races and a lot of the heartaches.
What a fire
So it was
racer
cool to
he
have them
was.
there. Of course, Chloe and you and Barry, and
Man,
it was just cool to
everybody
have
got
everybody
there.
there.
What a race. I tell
yeah,
you
that
what,
was
after 5
awesome.
days of this, you don't want to
So
see
we're
the
gonna go into
weekend
this
go
next
any
bit. Your
other
race
way. What an
program. There's
incredible
obviously
race.
we touched a lot of little bits of it here and there. New fuel, new engine program. Let's talk about Ultimate Brent Dunsford. I actually a long time ago, when you were we were trying to figure out what your engine
What an
program was
incredible
going to
race.
be,
Yeah.
and
Let's head down to
I
Tyler
actually
in
was
the
like,
pits while we take a look at
this
some of our
Ultimate stuff might be
national
pretty
champions.
good. So I reached out to Brent and I was like,
I was
hey,
already saying that.
I'm like, hey, Brent, Dakota's looking for an engine thing. You might want to like shoot him a text and just see where he's at with that. I don't know any details, but I know that there's an opportunity, and obviously I want to hook you up with somebody that's good, reliable, that's not going to have a negative impact on your race program. So I thought, from what I've seen and from what I know of Brent, I thought this would be a great pairing. So
Yeah, it's been a really really great experience at first. Um, obviously Brent is an awesome guy. For those of you guys who know him, super laid back, really just
Masters
cool,
of
down to
dirt,
earth
man.
guy. Yeah, Masters
Masters
of
of
Dirt, the
dirt.
BHRC owner. Riz a really really good guy, and he was able to kind of get me in contact and get the ball moving with everyone over in Spain at Ultimate, and kind of as a team we were able to talk and figure some stuff out. And it was nice. It was really really low stress. I kind of just like, hey, I want to try this stuff out, see how it is, and then go from there. I don't I want to do this if it feels right. I want to do this, for the right reasons. I want it to be good stuff. I want it to be stuff that I believe in, and that I can support wholeheartedly, and really really hopefully make a difference and impact for them as well as myself. So kind of went into it like really really low key and relaxed, and did some testing with the engines. They were awesome. Did some testing with the fuel. Didn't really know what to expect with the fuel, and a Nitrox fuel was really really good as well. I was super happy with it, and we did a lot of testing before Nitro Challenge, and decided to make it happen. Like I said, we didn't rush into it. It wasn't something that we signed on for the new year. We I don't think I signed until like right before Nitro Challenge, so we took our time, figured it out, made sure that it was the right fit for all of us, and fortunately it was. So we went into a Nitro Challenge as kind of the first major race with them, and had some stuff happen that was unrelated to that, and not a bad weekend by any means, but wanted to come to Nitro Challenge and do a little better. So it was really cool to be able to do that and have that accomplishment with them. I believe it was their first Roar National title, so that was super cool, and really looking forward to the future with them and Brent and see what we can make happen.
Yeah, I know that knowing you for the last couple of years and working with you, you want to be a part of a company, not just somebody that uses their product and really doesn't have any connection.
Yeah,
I feel like you always want to have some sort of connection that's deeper than just a product user or a dude that picks up a check. You want to be part of the development. You want to be part of the feedback. You want to make sure customers get good products based on what you've experienced. So
yeah,
I thought it would be a perfect matchup. Knowing Brent and how much his effort level is, and knowing how much he cares and his passion for RC and racing. So I was like, this guy, he's going to go to bat for you no matter what. So I think if it's good or bad, it will always get better. So I had no doubts that he would, try and also try to do a very good job. So yeah, that's been awesome. Already a lot of success, and we've just kind of started running the stuff, and I'm sure there's going to be some great things down the road from Ultimate and Brent Tensford. So let's talk about the other part of your program, your J Concepts tires, man.
yeah.
One thing I noticed is that you stayed on the same tire pretty much the whole time. You didn't bounce around, try this tread, try that tread, try these wacky compounds. It seems like, for me, what I noticed is you found what you liked. You had a couple tires. You found the tire that you felt like was the best for you, and you kept on that tire program pretty much the whole event, no matter what other guys were doing.
Yeah, I pretty much was on Blue Recons since qualifying in both buggy and truggy, and it was nice to really not have to stress about it. It was nice to track stayed similar the whole time, and you didn't have to have four compounds ready to go in three different tread patterns. You're able to kind of just have that one compound that you're running, and then maybe two tread patterns just in case. And I was thinking about maybe running something in the last qualifier, or in the aiming practice, and I was talking to Jason about it, and he's like, "Why?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe just try something different. And he's like, "Well, what you're doing is obviously working, so why don't you just stick with what you got, go out and run, and not even worry about it?" And I'm like,
I think
okay,
I think
that
that
makes
I think
sense.
a lot of people get into that issue where they start off and then they find some good stuff, they have great results, and they
Yeah,
go next round, they change a bunch of things, try different tires, try different shocks, and different camera links, and next thing you know, they're hunting again. You know what I mean? Like, it's not often where people just kind of leave it and just, okay, my car feels good. I have great traction. I just need to drive better and deliver. And if I do that, I'll be sitting really pretty,
Yeah, sometimes that comfort will make a bigger difference than a setup change can make. And it's tough, like you said, it's tough to realize that. But sometimes it's nice. You just leave everything the same. You just go out and drive, and just really concentrate on yourself and doing the best that you can. And a lot of times, I think it makes a bigger difference than some changes. I think that say the setup optimization for yourself is at 90%, but you've been running it for the last month and you feel really comfortable, and you've just gone up in shock oil. That might be, you might do better with that and have better results than having your setup 100% optimization, but not just going out in main and just running it. You're not exactly sure what the car is going to do. You're not as comfortable, and when you're getting to this main time when the track is this gnarly and this rough, you just need to be comfortable. You just need to know what the car is going to do. You need it to be predictable in the fact that what it's going to do when it hits this bump, or what it's going to do if you miss the line, or if you turn too much, what's going to happen. And as long as you know that, you can make those adjustments and be aware of that, and then it's on you. So as long as the car's close, as long as the tires and the whole program is close, sometimes it's better just leave it and just do your thing.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of times, people I feel are looking for a magic tire or looking for a magic setup, and there's no magic. Magic is all in your ability to maximize everything and hit your potential. That's the magic. And however you go about to reach your potential, I think everybody's a little bit different. Some people, have to have a dialed car, then if that's the case, work on your car setup. Sometimes it's tires, work on your tire game, play with foams and foam break-ins and sauces and different ways to heat tires. Or if you're doing 10 skill, if you're 8 skill, then obviously maybe try gluing in foams.
I hope we're not heating tires in 8 skill.
Shh, quiet, dude. That's our secret. So, but like, gluing foams or trying different foams or cutting them different, or, trying different things with your tires to get your tires up to speed. If you feel, that's what's holding you back is tires. So everybody's a little bit different. Sometimes it's practice and working on your skills and your racecraft. So, what was nice this weekend, it doesn't happen every weekend, is that you really had one tire to select, so you could focus on the car setup and make minor changes versus make minor changes plus tire changes. So it gets complicated, and you really don't really know what's being the most beneficial. Was it your tire change, or was it your setup change, or was it your driving, or you're just used to the track more, so you're doing more aggressive lines? There's a lot of different factors that jump into your results and how you approach the race weekend. And the program, I think, is super important in 8 skill. Like, I think it's your program in 10 skill could be pretty good, and you can do pretty good. But in 8 skill, if your program's not like top notch, you're not going to get top notch results. I'm a
or you just don't even finish.
I'm a firm believer, if you don't, the 8 skill stuff and have that experience, it's, you can do well. But if you're trying to, be a travel guy or get paid, or, you have to have a really, really solid program and people around you, like in your post that you wrote, the people that you surround yourself with and that you can trust, because it's more than just racing on the track and going fast and it's and selling cars or whatever. It's about the family, the relationships, about the fun times that we have, and the experiences that you're having, and it all kind of encompasses all of us. So it's been a great journey. And another person that I want to talk about, a part of your race program this year, that I think has been very crucial to your results and to being able to, I think, just to get your car to the way where you want it to be. I think sometimes we'll fish around and it feels better, but we don't really know, or don't really know the direction yet until we try something. Barry, Baker has been, helping you with the mechanic side and also the setup side and advice and things like that. So let's talk about Barry being a part of your race program and how he's affected your just chances to win.
Yeah, I mean, Barry's been a part of it for a couple of years now. It kind of happened just at a race. It kind of just started like, hey, like,
let me see your car.
Yeah, just hey, let's try to figure out what you need. And
trucks looks like they're crap out there, man. We got to make some changes.
Yeah, he was able to make it happen. I think it was at Nitro Challenge actually one of the years, and he has a lot of knowledge. He's been around for a long time. He comes from a very successful on-road career, so he has that mentality of being really precise with everything. Triple checking the camber and to an extreme point, and that's sometimes what you need in 8 scale. And he's awesome to work with. He's very direct, so we'll have conversation about what I want, and sometimes he'll just kind of like board out like do the raise the camber like, and he just focuses on something. It's just like we go and do it, and 9 times out of 10 that's exactly what needed to happen. So he's able to get on the track really good. He still has really good speed, obviously, with his win, and he's fast enough to be able to make changes himself and know what the car is doing, and be able to tell if it's something that might work for me or for somebody else or whatever it may be. So he's a huge asset to have. He's able to go out. He's out in California, so he can go and do testing with Dunford and stuff. The product manager and developer, who puts a ton of time and effort into, and able to kind of come up with some stuff. They've made a lot of progress with the car, and we've taken that to some races and had some really good success. And he works his butt off the whole weekend. Goes through my car every single time, makes sure it's 100% ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we even talk and we're like this guy he wrenches too much. There's moments where like, dang, he's still wrenching. Like we could do it tomorrow. But he's definitely on it. He tells me like Dakotah's like my son. I'll do anything for Dakotah. So like obviously he's a huge fan of yours and wants to be part of your program and your racing success, and I think he's kind of been able to live that dream now and be a big part of your racing career here.
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, it's insane the amount of time he puts in behind the scenes, and at the races as well. He just got done prepping some stuff for a PMB, and we're gonna go there and give it our best shot again. But yeah, he's just full commitment and does whatever he needs to do to make it happen. So it's pretty cool to see, and definitely thankful to have him a part of the program.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a bumpy road, let's say, but I think in relationships sometimes you like that communication thing, sometimes you don't know how to communicate with each other correctly or efficiently, and instead of getting things done, you're kind of bickering or arguing or trying to prove who's right or wrong, and it doesn't really go anywhere. So I think now that we all know how to kind of communicate with each other and work with each other and have we all have respect for each other, so it's easy to kind of figure out the pieces now and be able to work on the issues on the track versus trying to work on our issues with each other.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, we all have the same goal, and we're able to kind of put our heads together. We're all different people. We all communicate a little bit differently, but we've been at it for a little while now, and we've figured it out. We know how each of us works, and we're able to get together and put our heads together and make it happen when it counts. So it's pretty cool to see. It was really cool to see at nationals how everyone worked together, and I was able just to communicate. I know I've mentioned that before, but it was really cool to see, and just the cherry on top for sure.
Yeah, and then Barry Baker wins the 40 plus, so that was awesome. A huge cap in his. As the race was finishing, I could see his head get bigger and bigger as he's driving. And I'm serious. Then after the words, he says Barry's fun. If you know Barry, he's a personality. So he says to me, "Do you know I built all three cars that won the national?" I'm just like, okay, But in all reality, even though it's funny, it's true. He did build all three cars. The car that Tater's running used to be Dakotah's old car that he worked on. So now Tater inherited that and is running that, and that's the 15 and under champion. Barry won with his car, and then Dakotah won with the car that Barry's working on. So as I don't want to feed the animals, let's say, but
it's not a mistake. For sure, not a mistake.
But yeah, but it is true that he did build all the three national winning cars this year. So kudos to him. I don't think he gets enough recognition on the hard work that he puts in. So I wanted to make sure that Barry, we love you. You did a great job. Thank you for everything and all the hard work. And then another person that I want to just kind of give a shout out to is Ryan Dunford, that you mentioned, the product developer, the person that's working on all the larger scale, some of the small scales. He's just does a little bit of everything with product developing on ours 8-scale program too. So he's been putting a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of office hours, weekends, days, just numerous hours at the track, just running and running and running and trying to figure stuff out and finding small things, those small details I think we overlooked in the past, and that we're starting to kind of put a fine-tooth comb through and make the small changes so that the end package is going to be even better. So he's, Dunford's been awesome to work with as well in this whole thing, and it's been great to have him at a couple of these races to help the team out as well.
Yeah, I feel like what sums up pretty well is his whole backyard is an RC track. So, there you go, folks. He's committed.
You can drive your Mini B around there.
Yeah, he makes it happen. So
now he says it's a perfect size track for like a 13.5 wheeler. Ahmad, he says it's a little bit much for Ahmad, but he says stock racing is perfect. So dedicated, passionate. All of us are. I'm passionate about this stuff too. Dakotah obviously is. Barry is. So we have all this passion and all these goals that are aligned, and we just have to kind of figure out how to work together and how to kind of get everybody on the same page so that we can reach our potential. And like I said, it was an awesome accomplishment at the Roar 2020 Fuel Nationals, and the program top notch. I couldn't really, I nitpick people's programs even though they don't know this, but I kind of judge because I have a good standard of like where people's programs are. When I was on JC, I got to see Mayfield's program and Spencer's, all those other guys too, David's, yours now. So I know probably the top US guys, at least, what their program is and how detailed they are. So that gives me a pretty good reference to judge people's programs and see what areas they might need to improve. So with the program that we have going on, I don't think there's really much for me to tweak, which is a great thing. I got a lot on my plate with other issues and stuff, but so I'm just super happy with that result, with how the team did, and congratulations on an awesome double win national title. So if you don't know, Dakotah is currently holding 5 U.S. national championships, 2-wheel mod, 4-wheel modified, 4x4 short course. He had to work for that one.
Yeah, I did. Tater made work for it.
If you guys want to watch a cool battle, watch the ENATS 4x4 short course. Tater almost handed Dakotah. I've never seen Dakotah work so hard.
He made me do some setup work. He made me do some setup work on that thing. I was not expecting that, man. But he made me work for it a little bit.
Wholesale changes for this 4x4 short course. He was going all in. Wasn't going to lose to Tater and let Tater have one so early in his career. So, so great race there. So those 3 on the 10 skill side, and then also now 8 skill buggy, 8 skill truggy. And so that's 5 for you currently. There's 2 more that's potential that's coming in carpet. So there's potential of maybe being a current 7th title holder, which would be nuts. I mean, I don't know if I remember anybody doing a feat like that. Maybe in one year, I think Cav won 4 national off-road titles,
Yep.
and then he went and won a on-road title. So that there's 5 there. So you did 3 10 skills and 2 8 skills. So there's your 5. So you're part of this 5 national title thing. I don't know if that's I mean, is there somebody that won 6 in a year? You know, like, holy cow! I mean, that's pretty awesome. So let's go hit the Q&As, and then we can shut her down. We're already at an hour and a half. So I was trying to keep it to about an hour and a half, but pretty close. So I think
Cut it off.
If I just hit close and just cancel down and
See you, bye.
answer the questions, we'll make it. Now let's. What's more important is to kind of go through and say hi to everybody. And I first thank you for those who have watched this live show thing the whole entire time from start to finish. Thank you. I'm glad you're not sleeping, and hopefully being somewhat entertained with some knowledge, some racing stuff, and some humor. So let's start off with the Q&As. So we got Dustin Borg. I just purchased an 8X Elite on building tips, setup tips, and must-have upgrades. So off the top of your head, what I'll do is I'll reply to Dustin with a link to the Ryan Dunford build tips and build video, so that he can just follow along and get all the tips in video. So, but just off the top of your head, what is the items that you got to have on the 8X Elite, and any tips off the bat just for someone new?
There's definitely a few main things I would definitely want to invest in. Aluminum servo horns for the steering and throttle are definitely top of the list. You always want to have those. There's no reason not to have those. Next thing would be the aluminum servo arm, just so you kind of have a little bit more of a direct steering feel. There's not quite as much flex with having 2 plastic parts. With actually, I think that actually comes with the Elite. So that should come in the Elite kit. The carbon fiber center servo mount and center diff mount will come with the Elite. So that's the really nice thing about the Elite car, is it comes with a lot of those upgrades. I would still suggest the servo horns, just because they don't know exactly what spline you're going to have. So that's kind of hard. Something that's hard to include in the kit. But I would definitely get those on order for the steering and throttle servos. And besides that, I mean, you definitely want to probably invest in some different springs, mess around with those, see what you like spring wise.
What's the national championship springs of choice right now?
Yeah, so I ran the TLR brown springs in the back, and then in the front we have some new springs. They're TLR silver springs, and that's what I ran there. So they've been really good over the last years. The springs kind of bounce around a little bit. We run Mugen springs in the past. We run HB springs. Obviously we run TLR springs, and now we have some different iterations of TLR springs that we're running. It's kind of one of those things. It's always changing, always evolving, and it just people kind of bounce all over the place. No matter what the manufacturer is when it comes to springs. So that's one of those things. It's just good to try. Same thing with shock setups, whether it be 5-hole or 6-hole or 8-hole. Typically for the nitro buggy, it's either 5-hole or 8-hole. In the past, 8-hole was pretty dominant, and now it seems like most people have been going more towards the 5-hole. Which is what I run. The 5-holes seem like they're a little bit more aggressive. They normally have a little bit more speed, better lap times, and they like to be driven harder, especially to the bumps. The 8-hole stuff is really easy to drive. It soaks up the bumps really good when you're kind of off power, just cruising through them. So there's a few different options there, things that kind of tinker with and tune. Like I said, I know people that love the 5-hole stuff. I know people that dislike it. And same thing with the 8-hole stuff. So really depends on the driver and what you're comfortable with. But I'd go in line, see some 5-hole setup options, see some 8-hole shock setup options, and give those a try and go from there.
All right, there you go. Got some. So one of the setup tips is in the instruction book. It tells you to put in like the planetary, like in the diff. There's like a ring. What is it called, Dakotah? Not the ring, the planetary gear that sits behind it.
The sun gear?
the sun gear. What sits behind the sun gear? It's the pin, and then there's like a washer.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
goes on
So
top of the seal.
yeah. So in the instruction book, it tells you to put the washer in. All of us don't run that washer in the standard diffs. So if you use the washer in the standard diff that come with the kit, most of us use the HD diff housing now, so it has more oil.
Yep. That'd be a good
But
option as well to pick up.
yeah, so but if the standard diff option is fine. A lot of the other companies used to run our diffs in their 8-scale cars because they're pretty bulletproof. But if you use the washer, you will actually not get it free enough, and it'll be very, very tight feeling. And so if you don't run the washer, just put the O-ring in there over the outdrive shaft, and then put the pin in and put the planetary gear over that. You're good to go. And that would be my only tip, because when I built the car initially for the first time ever, I just followed instructions like you're supposed to. And then I'm like, hey, my diffs are really tight. They're like, hey, did you put that washer in? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, why doesn't anybody tell me this stuff? So I had to open my diffs, which was annoying, dump all the oil out, get that out. So to save you some time from doing that, from a guy that's made that mistake before, don't use the washer in the stock diff cups. All right. So another question we had from Jason Klein. Did you run universals or CVAs in the Nitro Buggy?
Yeah, so we ran universals all the way around. That's what the whole team ran, and that's pretty much what we exclusively run anywhere we go. I ran those at Nitro Challenge. I ran those at AMS, Southern Nats. I was running them at P&B. It's kind of just one of those trends that everyone's on now. Everyone's on the bandwagon, and it's universals or bust now. So that's
I don't remember seeing anybody run CVAs anymore.
But another thing to keep in mind is you cannot show up to a race with brand new universals. It will not be good, and you will 100% not get them broken in enough, even by the time the race is over. I can pretty much guarantee that. We ran the universals for a long time. I will maybe go through 2 sets of universals for the whole season, and we do a lot of racing. So definitely keep that in mind. If for some reason you have to show up at a race and kind of throw down, I would suggest dremeling the pins, getting a little bit of wear in them, because it's nice, they last a long time, but they do take a while to break in. So just be prepared for that. A lot of people will actually, since you run them in the front, they'll take that front set, put them in the back, and then they'll throw a fresh set in the front. I would say it's not quite as important in the front to have that bind from the pin on the outdrive. It's still ideal, but if you put new ones in the back, it's not going to be very good. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, the metals and the pins in the universals and the CVAs and our outdrives are very hard. So it takes a while for our car to actually break in. I would say, man, I don't know how many tanks you would say, Dakotah, 10 tanks or more before the car actually gets into
at least I would, for the universals in the back, I would say an hour before it would even cross my mind to pretend to run them at a race. But probably longer than that.
Yeah, if you just throw universals in your car's going to feel like it's broken and very loose. You actually got to break them in. The reason why you take a Dremel, and what you're trying to do is make a flat spot so that there's more metal contact against the outdrive. So as that metal slides up through the outdrive like it's supposed to, a flatter surface will have more contact, more mechanical friction. So it feels like the car is more locked in. And it feels more locked in under power when the suspension needs to actually set and hold. If the pins are new, the suspension won't set and hold, and then you'll kind of get the car wiggling a lot because there's no mechanical bind that happens in the rear end and the rear outdrives and the CVA pins. It holds the suspension under power. So it's very important. A lot of things that I think a lot of people overlook or just maybe don't know because they just say, oh, they're using universals, and then you go and put universals in and you don't know why. You feel like you have no grip and the car is just really unsettled. And so that is probably one of the reasons why. So next question. So how much wider do the holes need to be for the front sway bar mod? Man, what? How can we really? Do we have a number that we went out?
I don't have a number off the top of my head. We can probably get a number. Yeah, we can probably get a number. It's a decent amount. It's
I think Dunford knows the number.
Yeah, we'll see we'll see. If not, I can measure. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's like the whole width of the sway bar linkage and then some. So it's for sure it's a decent amount.
It's like double.
And really the thing behind that is that it's the same sway bar as the buggy, but the arms on the truck are a lot longer.
Yeah.
So as far as where the sway bar is in correlation to the wheel is a lot different.
Right.
So we kind of just made that adjustment to try to get it a little bit closer to the same ratio as the buggy, and it really helped out.
Yeah, I mean, if you measure out where the sway bar is on the buggy arm, our sway bar location is exactly the same as on a truggy arm, but the arms are significantly a lot different in length. Yeah. So to try to make the ratio the same or close to, we'll probably have to change the location of the sway bar according to the length of the arm and vice versa. So that's where that kind of idea come from. It makes a lot of just common sense. And so Dunford typed, he said he's watching bits and pieces, 12 millimeters per side out. So you take that hole from the center, you measure 12 millimeters out, and then drill a hole there. I think what Dunford did was kind of drill or Dremel a flat spot in the arm and then drill a hole through, and then we mounted it there so that the ball cup assembly can just sit into that little slot where you Dremel out the arm. And then it worked great, no issues at all. And the truck definitely looked a lot better, a lot more solid, a lot more comfortable. You know, you might not add a bunch of time or a bunch of tenths to your run, but overall run, I think it's something that the sway bar affects. All right, so 12 millimeters there. And let's see, Dakotah is the bomb, 92 laps, lead wire to nitro truggy, national champ. There you go. Wire to wire, man. Oh, not wire to wire in nitro buggy, but yes, nitro truggy. Wire
truggy. I had one crash, and it was a dumb crash. And I remember just being really mad about it. Like, really?
I can't remember
this is how you do it. This is your one crash. Come on.
Can't remember where that was actually. One crash. That's hard to spot every single 45-minute and try to find one crash in there. All right, your mom. Did you like the option? The good question. I was actually gonna talk about this. At first, your choice, and that's all you would do, was the outside option lane. Yeah. And then eventually, finally, through whatever change, you decided to do the inside lane. And I think it was after somebody proved it was a little bit quicker. You got better position coming out of that double into that single and around that 180 turn.
Yeah. So Anthony wants you guys want to build the track. First off, awesome job building the track. Super cool, super fun. I think everybody liked it. The option lane was really cool. I actually talked to him. He was asking me about it before he did it. You know, because it's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's crazy, but it's definitely pretty unique. And obviously with his background in motocross, he was able to make it happen probably better than most of the people would have been able to. And he put the time and effort in to make it as equal as possible. To start, most people were doing the outside just because it was easier. It was simpler. You know, there was a lot less grip to start, and hitting those rollers was hard when it was loose. And so the outside was just a lot easier. So he kind of made a little bit of adjustment to the pipe. He took a lot of the pipe out and moved it over some, so the inside was a little bit easier as you were exiting, and you're able to hit that pretty straight. So then people started trying that, and the groove started to kind of form.
Yeah. And
once there was better grip there, I started to try it. I think I started on Saturday for Q3. I started doing that. And really, it was kind of just one of those sections, like, I just know I can go outside, I have grip. And it was just a little bit easier. So that was one less thing I had to worry about. But the thing with the outside is you had to be careful not to hit the pipes. since you're going outside, you're going a lot faster, and it was a lot easier with that kink right before the triple to hit that and kind of jump the triple into the middle lane and not be on the right side. So once the inside started to grow up a little bit, people started using it more and more. I decided to give it a try, and really the main thing about the inside is just making sure you hit your breaking point right. There was kind of a little bit of a drop off, and then you do those two singles, and you had to make sure that you slowed down enough before the first single, but you still wanted to attack as much as possible. And then you had to make sure that when you went over the second single, you didn't jump it at all. If all 4 tires kind of went off of it and then you landed, you would have no grip. So you had to make sure that you kind of powered down that second single and could stay tight to the pipe. So it was just a timing thing. I had to kind of make that adjustment. I knew that we probably were going to be doing that for the main, so decided on Saturday that, hey, it's time to make this adjustment and give it a go and kind of figure it out. So kind of forced myself into it, and then once you got into a rhythm, it wasn't too bad.
Did you prefer one or the other?
I preferred how simple the outside line was, but it was nice. The outside line was easier, but then once you would get to kind of going straight, you'd have that kink right before the triple or the double single. So the inside was nice. You got the hard part out of the way sooner, and then you could just go straight and hit the double single. So both kind of had their good spots and bad spots.
All right. So your mom also has a 2-part question. First thought after winning Nitro Buggy. I think we might have covered this, but for those who might have joined late, what was your first thought after winning the Nitro Buggy Championship?
Yeah, I was just really pumped and excited to finally make it happen. And like I said earlier, that was probably that one thing on my list that had just been kind of like nagging me and giving me problems for over 10 years now. And so it was pretty nice, pretty bittersweet to be able to check that off the list. And it was pretty cool.
There we go. And let's see. James asks, is there any new buggies and parts? Our normal responses, we're always working on wonderful new products, and that's pretty much all I can really say. All right. Hunter King asks something, and you guys tried open arms as opposed to closed arms on the 8-scale cars, for example, drumming out arms. I don't know. Do you feel like the arms need to be stiffer or more flexible, Dakotah?
I don't think so. I would. I don't think so.
Probably Dremel out the inside of your arms if you wanted to for more flex.
I mean, they have. I feel like they have a pretty good balance. We haven't had any issues really with them bowing. We haven't had any issues with them breaking. So that's already like a pretty good balance. Normally when you feel them, you'll flex the hub or the caster block, and they have a good amount of flex to them. I wouldn't really want to go much softer than what they are, and I really wouldn't want to go much stiffer than what they are. It's really a pretty good balance. There's been a lot of testing and a lot of development and kind of behind the scenes that has kind of gone into to where we're at with that, and I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. I would be a little bit scared to do the dremeling. If anything, you could maybe I don't know, you could soften them up. I know some people that put stuff in the dishwasher or something like that to maybe soften them up a little bit if you really want to get crazy with it. But
boil your arms, buddy.
Yeah, I don't really think there's really much of a need to do that. I feel like they're pretty solid where they're at, and the car has good grip, and just with feeling them, I really wouldn't want to go much softer.
Here's a good question that I actually have. I don't think I know. I mean, I could guess your, answer, but I don't think I've actually asked you or got your opinion about it. Does it feel different running the bruggy body instead of a truggy body? If so, how? Good question, John.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's actually a pretty major difference, which is really, I think, the reason that it came about. The standard truggy bodies have a lot of air that gets caught up underneath of them, and they're pretty rounded in the front. So kind of going with bruggy body, which I will say, for all the crap that it's gotten, truggy is already part truck, part buggy. So the bruggy body is still kind of in those guidelines of between a truck and a buggy, but it doesn't have as much air that gets caught under it, so it visibly jumps a lot lower. So you're able to charge jumps a lot faster, and it goes forward a lot better instead of going up. So you don't get that crazy pop in that airflow. I would say it's kind of almost like the difference of jumping a truck versus a short course. So that's a pretty big difference right there. And then also when you're driving on the track, you're able to drive a lot more like a buggy. So you kind of come into the corner, hit the brakes, you pivot the car in the tighter corners and go through. In the high-speed corners, you kind of let off, turn the wheel, and you're able to kind of smoothly carry that momentum. With the standard truggy body, you really kind of swing the car around. So you kind of charge in the corner, you kind of just crank the wheel, whip the car around, slide the car around the 180s, and then high speed, you just go in there, you just crank on it and just kind of like whip the car around. So you're able to drive a lot smoother with the newer style bodies, and really concentrate on hitting your lines and not just being like crazy wild. I mean, Truggy, the pace was getting so insane. I mean, you're just driving punched out of your mind. And with these new bodies, you're really able to kind of take a breath and hit your lines and drive well instead of just sending it in the corners and sliding all over the place.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you guys remember 10th scale rear motor trucks. That's kind of how you used to have to drive. Like you just kind of brake, pivot, like swing everything, and now they drive more like the truggies with the bruggy bodies drive more like a buggy, and you don't really drive like a 10th scale stadium truck where you basically rear it, you back up into almost every 180 turn, and you're trying to time these very incredible slides, and it's actually very hard to do, and it takes a lot of focus because you can be sliding wrong, you're constantly maneuvering your steering wheel, you're constantly pumping the gas, and just to get the car to go around one turn. With the buggy bodies, you kind of just steer into it like you do, your buggy, instead of pitch it all crazy, and it's a lot less, I think, taxing on your mind while you're racing. All right, question here from VVOS71. Why did the steering block style of the 8 1.0 to 4.0 seem to fade out in 8 scale? I think this question is referring to the C block car versus a Mugen style car with the pillow balls. Do you think? I don't think really the C block style car is really fading away. Our car is still a C block. Hot Body still got a C block. Kyosho's still on the C block. X-Ray, they have the options for both, but I believe most of the time they're running C block. I don't really know, to be honest, but I don't think they're really fading away. It's definitely the performance of the pillow balls cars have increased, but I think each of them have their realms of where they kind of excel.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so next question. This is from Braden Domo. I don't know. Do we not have CVAs for the 8XT? Because we've
honestly don't know. I mean,
the whole time.
I remember when we debuted the Truggy at Nitro Challenge a couple years ago. We only had CVAs for the truck, and I was upset because I wanted to have universals, especially with how bumpy that track is. Like, we gotta get universals, and that was just that was the first race for the truck, so that was what we had. And ever since that race, I've never even thought about those. I mean, it would have to be a pretty interesting track to not want to have universals in, I feel like, at this point in where the industry's at.
Yeah, I think the progression right now, in terms of 8 scale and CVAs, probably kind of on the way out for now. I don't know if we'll ever see a trend where they come back and become, maybe it's next thing you know, it's like, oh, dude, 8 scale CVDs, like you got to have these things, maybe the wave of that comes back in, but right now it's universals on both front and rear, on both truggies and buggies. So I've only seen universals on cars at the races for the last few years. So I don't think there's going to be CVAs for Truggy. I don't think they actually exist. But like I said, like Dakotah said, break in your universals, have those broken in, an hour or so of running on them, and they should be pretty good at that point. So they do work great. They handle bumps better. You just have to go through the process of getting them broken in so that the metal and the mechanical bind will be there for you. All right. Maverick Riggs.
What's up, buddy?
Can I get an autograph?
What's up, man? How's it going, buddy?
All right. Your mom knew. Your mom knows. So in 2014, you won 6 national titles. So we didn't get close to your own personal record and record set by you probably. So 6. Which 6 in 2014?
So I won 2-wheel, 4-wheel, and then nitro truggy, and then e-buggy, e-truggy, and full short course.
So we need to pick up a couple e-buggy, e-truggies, and we'll be right there.
I missed out on truck and nitro buggy.
Okay, so we have 2 more carpet ones. So potentially we could be at 5, maybe 6, or even 7. So there's still a couple in the works, Nancy. Okay, here's a good question by John Masterbray. Quick question about your radio setup. I've heard that you have a very interesting radio setup. I think this could be your old radio setup. No?
Yeah. I get asked this all the time by people who will just randomly come up and they start out with that question. That's a funny question. So all my radio settings are very basic. I don't do anything crazy with the radio settings. I don't like Expo. I don't like any of that stuff. The only thing I do is I turn down the servo speed on throttle a little bit in nitro, just so the carb can keep up a little bit easier. And then as far as like the radio goes, I feel like the throttle, I don't do anything too crazy. The steering wheel, my spring tension is definitely a little bit different. It's probably a lot softer than what most people run nowadays. And I don't really have like that center feeling. The radio does center now. It used to not. I used to run pretty much like the spring tensioner like out. So it never really centered exactly
I heard
the same.
So before I got to know you and work with you, I heard a rumor. This was going around in the pits. Is that your radio doesn't have a steering wheel tension, and that you drive with 0 steering wheel tension. So it's like a real car. So that you're always constantly controlling the steering wheel. Even when you're on the straightaway, you have to hold it and go straight. Otherwise, you don't go straight. So
Yes.
I don't know if that's like 100% true, or if these are like, legends of Dakotah Phend, or like these are like tales or people telling, you're starting to build, and you have been building a pretty awesome, racing career. So there's some wins or some certain interesting things that you do or do weird that I think people kind of like, love to progress on, like 0 steer, like a wheel that basically, like if you turn left and leave it there, it just stays left the whole time. Like
no return. It was not that crazy. It did have a spring in there, but it did not return to center. So if you're going down the straightaway and you let it go of the wheel, it would not go even close to straight. So I would have to set my trim just while I was driving, which I still do that a little bit. I get it to go straight, and then as I'm driving, I'll adjust it a click or two just to what feels straight to me, and it probably isn't exactly straight. But my steering wheel does center now, and it does have some spring tension to it. But I am very picky about that center feel, and my radio does not and will not ever have that center feel in it because it drives me absolutely nuts.
Like
and
when
I
you
always go back.
Click, 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 like that.
Yeah, I don't. There's not that center chunk at all. And I don't know why it bothers me so much, but my excuse is always that a real car doesn't have that. So why does my radio have to have that? I know where center is. I drive enough. Let me let me deal with it. But my radio does center now. So I let go. It will go back to center, and it has some spring tension to it, but it just doesn't have that notch there at all.
Yeah, there's a rumor that you also like drive with your pinky. Your throttle's controlled with your pinky, or at least the opening is the size of a pinky. So for those who don't know Dakotah's radio setup, he has like 4 things built into his trigger to make it smaller, so that basically the tip of your finger can fit into the trigger, and that's about it. And you can't put your full finger in there. You can't put up like your full nail in there. It just basically just gets enough room for the tip of his finger to get in there, and then he's throttling and braking and we're talking like massive amounts of movements. He's not a guy that brakes under like one soft push stroke. It's like ABS, like feathering. And so he's just motoring along with his little finger, flicking it at 1,000 RPM. And it's just barely in. It's just barely in the trigger, man. I mean, so he does have an interesting radio.
Yes.
Of all the guys that I pick up their radios and play with, and maybe even potentially drive their cars, I think Dakotah probably has one of the more unique ones because I can never drive it. I'm like, hey, let me try your car. And they'd be like, oh, God. I can't even put my finger in this trigger. I can't even drive this thing. So I'll take a lap, and it'll bug me enough to be like, okay, you can have your car back, man. I don't want to drive it.
When we did testing back in the day, when we kind of like all be out in California, I would just have another trigger because just the one screw right there with the Spectrum radio. So I would just have another trigger, and we just pop that in real quick so someone else could try.
So somebody else can try your car. That's the thing, man. Most people put their full finger into the trigger, like have it right on the crease there, and pull that thing. But Dakotah is not one of those guys. I'm sure he probably holds his steering wheel with like the utmost smallest tips of his tippy fingers, and
very tip of my fingers.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is if you watch, I don't remember how I even like noticed this, but as I'll start out with your thumb and your 3 main fingers. And as I like really get into it, you can tell if I'm like really into it because I'll start taking fingers off the steering wheel, and I'll end up where I'm only with my index finger and my thumb when I'm like really, really into it.
So is that just the small light touches, the tip of the finger, the tip of your fingers on the steering wheel, and your minor movements? Like, is that just what you feel is required to go fast? I mean, is that or is it just what you feel is what you're used to? I don't know.
I think I feel like I've at this point I've based my driving style is based off of being very precise and having that really, really like laser precision accuracy. So that's why I feel like when obviously for 10 scale, that's a huge, a huge thing. And then 8 scale, when you have these indoor tire tracks, similar to nationals or with how technical the AMS layout is, that really, really benefits me. Where some tracks, like Nitro Challenge, I'm not really able to use that since it's such a big, wide open track. It's really more about kind of just like going for it, carrying those outside lines are smoother, and you don't have to be quite as precise. But I think, I've kind of just, for whatever reason over the years, I've kind of modeled like my driving off of precision and trying to be able to be as precise as possible. And that's kind of the path I've gone down. And, it has its benefits, and obviously it has its negativities as well. And it's just yeah, kind of how I drive for whatever reason.
Okay, another question about your radio setup. Do you use 100% steering, lock to lock?
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever back that down using dual rate to like 60, 70, 80, or anything less?
If I feel like my car is wrong, then I will turn down my steering rate very little, like 96 is extreme. However, I don't know if it's just however I drive, but I feel like the steering rate makes a huge difference for me. Like I could almost do it in like 0.5% increments.
Hmm.
So I really kind of shy away from that. I feel like that's a little bit of a band-aid. It for sure makes the car easier to drive, and if that's what you need when you're out there driving, by all means. But I think that you can kind of get the same thing with the setup, and it would be a little bit more optimized. If you're able to leave that at 100% and have your setup, be exactly what it needs to be. But yeah, I mean, for sure, if you're out there and you're like, man, I have way too much steering, you can turn it down a few clicks, and makes it easier to drive. And I think for like at most levels, it's not a problem at all to have your steering rate at 90% if it's easier to drive.
Right.
That's there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, everybody sets up a little different, but I know a lot of people. They always tell me, I turned down my steering. I go, what does that mean? And then they're like, I turned my dual rate down to like 70. My car's dialed, and I'm like, I've never adjusted my dual rate below lock to lock. I just one set up the car, or two just kind of give it a little less input and adjust with my fingers, versus a radio setting. So everybody's different, like you said. Whatever works for you is going to work. But both Dakotah and I, we don't really adjust our servo to have less throw than lock to lock. The only thing Dakotah does is slow down his throttle servo just a little bit, so it's not over speeding. It's not faster than the actual engine itself.
For the car, yeah, that can get you in trouble a little bit if you have a pretty fast throttle finger. So I just turn that down like 5, 6, 7%, and that's fine.
A few percent goes a long way. We're not talking 20. Yeah. Where can I get the Silver Springs? They're currently in the works. Bob Taylor, the most used word at Nat's, squirmy. My car feels a little squirmy. I heard this a lot. I don't know.
Some dust, some bumps, a little bit of everything. Yeah, some rocks.
A little squirmy, gets a little squirmy and doesn't accelerate right, So definitely.
Those are polished rocks. You hit those polished rocks and you're like, man, my car's squirmy.
Oh, dude. Okay, here's a good question. BB Cruz, what's going on, buddy? What diff oil were you running in your Truggy?
Yeah, so pretty basic oil. I ran 10-10-4 in qualifying, and then for the mains we went up to 10-10-5. So we just went up 1,000 in the back, just so since it's a 45-minute main, didn't want it to get a little hot and get thin. So we went with 10-10-5 just to be a little bit safe and just make sure that the car was easy to drive the whole main.
There you go. Question from James Royal. The new batteries from Pro Performance RC, are they going to be for 8 scale or 10 scale or both? You're a Pro Performance RC guy. Do you have any information for James?
Yes, I am not sure on that, James.
Okay. All right. Here's a pretty long question by Jack. Regarding to the new buggy-like bodies being used on the Truggies now, are we at a point where you can comfortably say that it's necessary upgrade versus the standard-looking Truggy bodies? Like everyone being equal, would your Truggy have less performance? So, good question here. Let's say that you put your truck down and you did some practice laps and you timed yourself for 5 minutes. Would those times on a standard Truggy body be slower than a Truggy with the new buggy style bodies? Are you 100%?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, 100%. The new body is easier. You're able to just kind of have that like natural flow. So you're able to be a little bit more consistent with how you drive. and I think it's probably a little bit faster as well. I'm sure fast lap you can probably get pretty close, if not the same. But the overall consistency, I think, would definitely be better with the buggy body.
You know, the biggest thing I noticed at nationals is how many trucks did not have the buggy body.
Yeah.
I would see, man, let's say there's 10 cars in a heat. One car out of those 10 cars would have the old truck body.
Mm-hmm.
So about 9 out of 10 of every truck that I saw up and down the truggy from pros to Joes that they had buggy bodies on there. So it's actually now kind of weird to see an old school truck body on the track versus one of the buggy bodies on truggy now. So I knew it would take a couple races to kind of get that acceptance where everybody's like, okay, well, this is better. We're gonna rock this, even regardless of what we feel about the looks. Kind of performance dictates this one. And I think universally, the performance of the buggy bodies are just hands down. Dakotah would say 100% better over the whole entire run. The ease of driving the truck versus the old way you'd have to drive the truggy.
Yep. All right, Thomas, you got the next question. I'm at 3%, so I'm going to grab charger real quick.
Oh, dude. Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. This guy running out of... Actually, we're almost done with questions here. Do you still run a lot of sweep in the rear drive shafts? I think Dakotah still has some sweep in his rear end, but a lot of it is just having a longer chassis and moving the arms forward on the rear, which is a lot of people trying that on the 8X. The idea is to have a long chassis for stability. You move the arms forward to get the chassis length back to standard, a standard length of a car, and then the difference is you have bone sweep, and that's gonna give you more mechanical bind, mechanical grip, and then that's for some tracks and some certain situations that's going to be better. And for some situations, not having to do all that and running a standard car with the -3 chassis will be just as faster, if not faster. So I honestly, for me, if it takes me a lot of things to modify, let's say a chassis, arms, all this other different things to get it going, I probably won't run it just because it's a lot to modify. I would probably take the other way where it saves me time, product, and money, and just work on my driving, practice, know my setup, try to get my car as comfortable as possible, but then use my driving to kind of make the difference of about bone sweep. The question is, does your current national winning car, did it have a lot of bone sweep, and what do you think about bone sweep?
It doesn't have as much as what we had when we were running the longer chassis, but we still have a decent amount. I think that's kind of one of the things you have to do with the universals, just to kind of get that bind back into the car.
Yeah. So I was kind of mentioning if you are pinching your pennies, I would kind of skip the longer chassis and grinding everything down to get that bone sweep and using it. And then just run the -3 chassis and just run. And it would be more beneficial if you knew your package and how to set it up, and then put in a little bit of more driving time to get that performance that you might get with a longer chassis and more bone sweep. That's a lot of work and kind of a big process, because you have to switch chassis, move all your stuff over. You have to grind the arms, move it forward, and a lot of little things you got to do. For some scenarios, that would be very beneficial. But if you're kind of at the intermediate level, I would just practice and work on my driving and doing some setup changes and adding some knowledge and setup knowledge. And I think you can get away without having to do all that stuff. Let's see. Dalton is asking if you're running the Apex hubs. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's just a different style hub that has some more adjustability. I am not running those hubs.
Yeah, we're running standard hubs. Eddie Lorette, good to hear from Eddie. New sway bar mount. It's pretty simple, like he says. Just drill the hole where it lays out, then grind the arms. So it's 12 millimeters out from the stock hole location, and then you'll just put a hole in there, and then it attaches there, and everything should work. But you also have to have a sway bar that can reach, and then make it work. The stock sway bar will be a little too short.
I'll mount the sway bar to the link, see where the link sits naturally, and then kind of go from there. Whoa. Whoa.
Uh-oh, the gimbal has lost power.
Well, it's because I plugged it in, so the charger is too heavy for it to hold. We gotta give it a little.
Look at this
distance here.
Ryan Pavidis. Where did you feel the strongest on the track?
I'm just gonna hold it here. It's broken.
Yeah, we almost have. We're almost done. We have a couple more questions here, and we can close this one out. But Pavidis wants to know, where did you feel the strongest on the track? What was your hot spot?
Yeah. So I thought in general, I felt pretty good on the tighter stuff. The car is really, really quick at getting through those tighter corners and then accelerating out. As far as on the track specifically, that's tough. I felt like I had a pretty good line on the back straightaway, but then I also crashed there a couple times, which cost me a lot of time. So that was tough for sure. I'd say probably the 180s. So you would get on the straightaway, you do the sweeper, and then you have that double right there, kind of jumping away from you, and then you have the 180 and you come back to the line. I feel like the car was really good there and was able to get through there really good and carry that speed through the rollers and then up to the double in the front. I would think that was probably a pretty good spot. And then I think the back left corner of the tabletop, I was able to kind of jump that corner and land and have a pretty good overall line and flow through there.
Yeah. I one of the things I didn't know what your hot spot was. Let's say I think for me, I thought when watching, you were very good at the option line and then being able that double to single and that 180 there. I think you were the tightest and the most consistently the tightest, because if you kind of dropped and missed your timing, missed your turning point, you fall down the backside of that. It takes a really long time. And there's probably just missing that one lap. Let's say it probably takes 2 or 3 tenths out of your lap time.
At least
just by missing it there. And it's such an easy corner to miss. And then also it's a very hard corner to hit consistently tight, because you're really like touching that pipe with your left tire as you make that rotation. And the less you would slide down, the more time you would save. So,
and it got pretty choppy there too. So that definitely made it tougher in the main. You couldn't use as much wheel input, or it would kind of get tippy and want to tip over because of all the chop there. So you really wanted to just stay really tight and go slow. But yeah, if you'd missed the line initially by 2 inches, by the time you got to the apex of the corner, you're 10 inches off. So really, that corner with the angle that was at, it really magnified your line choice initially going into it.
There you go. Did you use incline hubs on the truggy or buggy?
Yep. Yeah, I ran those on the buggy.
Yeah. I think we once tried it on the truck. It wasn't really something there yet, but I think maybe in the future it's something to try later. But
for sure.
On buggy, it's definitely nice. The steering feel is a lot more comfortable. Just more manageable, especially at the higher speed and on really tough, bumpy track conditions. Question about how do you choose diff oils on a tough layout? It has grip, it has low grip, but then super bumpy in sections. Like, what's one of the factors that you decide on? Okay, I'm going with 774 versus something else.
Yeah, I would say the main thing is just not overthinking it. If your car has a pretty good balance, you should be able to not go too crazy with the diff oils. And then you kind of also have to know your personal preference. I usually prefer lighter oils nothing, nothing too crazy, but I normally would prefer like the 774 instead of, the 10s or 12s. So just kind of knowing that, and we really kind of pretty much stayed where we're at the whole time and didn't have to worry about it. You can make adjustments with your car in other ways as well to kind of help with that. So with sway bars, with tire compounds, I went to a harder tire compound earlier on than most people. And then you're able to run lighter diff oils, lighter shocks, maybe lighter sway bars, things like that. So it's really just kind of getting that overall balance, and you have to make that decision. What do you want to stay with, and what do you want to change? So if the car gets too soft, what direction you want to go. If the tires are ballooning up, you can go to some thicker diff oil, or you can go up and compound. You can glue the foams. So normally in certain situations, you have a few options, and you just have to know what option works best for you.
There you go. And this kind of ties in with Jose's question about your diff oils from both cars and what you started and what you finished on.
Yep.
So yeah, we went over that stuff. Good info. Dakotah, have you tried the Wally Build forward mounting ESC mod on the e-buggy?
I have not.
The thing is, Cavalier's running his car, his e-buggy, in this configuration where he's running a shorty pack that's a brick, and then the ESC right behind it. So Cav's running that setup, that layout configuration, and Dakotah has basically 2 shorty packs lengthwise in his e-buggy. And to me, both cars seem to be, performing equally well. Like, I don't feel like there's one advantage or the other. Like, oh, we got to go to this configuration, it's way better. Dakotah's had great speed with his. Cav's had great speed with his. So right now, we're not. I would say we're not definitive on what the layout is. I think the shorty pack brick thing with the ESC behind it probably might be the direction, but you never really kind of know. It's if Dakotah wins with a bunch of wins in the e-buggy and his stuff is lights out fast, then we might see other cars, other manufacturers copying our layout. But you never know until you actually do it, and there's something to look at where you have to grab their attention, and the other manufacturers have to say, "Whoa, what are they really got going on?" So until that happens, I think we're all going to be kind of all over the place in e-buggy. Right now, AE released theirs, 2 saddle packs in the back. There's all kinds of weird configurations right now. So we got some cool chime noises. Okay, so another diff oil question. Interesting. What's the process that you go through your head when choosing? I kind of went through this already. When choosing your diff oil. Just generally, Dakotah, what does a thicker diff oil in the front, center, rear do to the car?
Yeah. So in the front, when you go thicker in the front, the tires will balloon less, and you'll kind of generally lose a little bit of steering as far as like off power, but you'll have more on power steering as you're exiting the corner, just because it's thicker, so it has more drive. The center really just kind of changes the bias front to rear, and then also changes how much drive you'll have on the corner. Kind of similar to a slipper as well, kind of how tight or loose you have that. And then the rear, the thicker you go in the rear would be similar to like a tool drive buggy. As you tighten the rear diff up, it doesn't rotate as much, doesn't have quite as much just rotation in the corners, but it'll have a little bit more drive as you exit the corner. So kind of just some things to think about. And then you also want to think about if you're on the edge of being too light during qualifying and stuff, you might want to go up a little bit in the mains. So that was something we did with the Truggy. I did have 4 in the back for qualifying, and we went to 5 for the main event just to make sure that it stayed the same for the whole main and didn't overheat or get a little thin.
There you go. Yeah, you also, in the longer main, especially if you're racing an hour, you also have to kind of factor in your diffs and your shock oils and things changing through the process of the race. Sometimes you'll start to lose grip towards the end when drivers talk about fade. Oh, dude, I was fading away, So, all right. So we got Ryan McLaughlin. He also drives when his pinky comes off the steering wheel like Dr. Evil. Hunter King, very same fingers tend to slide off as I go in the race. I end up with my fingers on the edge of the wheel, then I have to slide them off quickly a few times. Actually, this actually happens to me. I'll notice as I'm driving, if I'm really into it, my finger position starts to change, and then I'll realize I'm starting to change it, and then I'll have to adjust somewhere to reposition my fingers as they start to slide around. Because I'm also very light on my fingers, and it's like I barely touch the steering wheel, and then as I barely touch the steering wheel, I'm kind of moving my hand around at the same time. I've noticed. So
all there right, you go with the thing. Everyone does it.
Everybody has that little pinky in the air, to take a little sip, But all right, so I think we're going to close out with questions here. All right, Dustin Borg, when are we going to see setup sheets for 2022? I think we got to talk to Dunford, get those worked on, and see what we can come up with some setup sheets. We definitely will put that out there. Instead of having on the pinky, okay. Yeah, so two main questions: universals and CVAs, and then diff oils. It seems like a lot of people have diff oil stuff.
Yep, the fundamentals.
All right, so here we go. Last question here. Do you use a DX5 Pro or a DX6R for racing?
Yep, I've been using the DX5 Pro for a couple of years now. It's good, it's simple, easy to use, and it gets the job done. Does everything that you need for racing.
Yeah, it's awesome to have the latest and greatest and the most techie thing out there. I think in Dakotah's case, he's used to what he has. It might not be the perfect radio, they're most advanced or most sophisticated, but it does all the basic things that he needs a radio to do. Yep. And the most important, I think, is it feels good in your hands. So if you pick it up and you're driving and you're thinking about the radio, like, oh, my trigger doesn't feel, my thumb's not right, or my steering wheel is this or that, you're kind of not thinking about what your car is doing on the track. So if you're thinking about your radio comfort is probably not that great, and you might need to figure out a different radio. If you're constantly, every time you're driving, it's like, man, this radio, like, man, my fingers, oh man, the trigger doesn't feel, if you're constantly doing that, it's probably maybe try a different radio, a different configuration in the radio, softening the trigger or the steering wheel, changing some of the parameters like the servo speeds or whatever to adjust so that you can get the feel right. So with Dakotah, he's been running the DX5 Pro for a while now, and hasn't had any issues, which is knock on wood here, which is great to see. The last thing you want to have at 8-skill is radio issues and work hard, all that hard, and you have a small glitch or small radio issue that's just tough to overcome, and something sometimes you just can't control, servo dying or going bad or whatever. So no matter what radio you have, if you get used to it and you like it, it's comfortable and it works for you, that's what matters.
Yep.
All right. That's all the questions I could shoot through that we have answers for. So I want to say thanks to everybody. Want to say huge thanks to Dakotah for joining us here. A little over time, 2.5 hours. But it's better we started at 7 Central, and he thought we were starting at 5 or 7 p.m. Pacific, so he was already
almost got me. Like,
he almost missed this one. So luckily we were able to catch him on time, and I sent him a message, say, you ready? Got your water ready? And then he's like, oh, dude, are we up in I'm like, no, we're up in 30 minutes. And it's like, oh, shoot. So thanks, Dakotah, for joining us on this live. Congratulations on your 2 titles, 5 titles overall, 7 titles for TLR this year. So it's been a fantastic journey, an awesome ride. I'm glad you're a part of this. I'm glad to be a part of this. And I just want to say thanks to everybody that watched tonight and that's been following along. We get a lot of support. I get a lot of text messages, like, when you guys doing those live talks again. So I appreciate those people that have been watching and wanting to see and hear more of stuff like this. Hopefully in the future, we can bring out a couple more. I know we have a few races where we have a few a week or something in between, and we could probably schedule something up for that. But to have it like every week, like we were kind of doing, it's almost impossible with me being gone on Thursdays on the days that we have it. We're usually traveling to a race on Thursday, maybe sometimes even Wednesday. So it's hard to have that. So again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. It's been a lot to cover. You can kind of go back through and watch the video and pick up some of the tidbits if you just joined us. But man, Dakotah, great job, and let's just keep it up and see what we can accomplish.
Yep, sounds like a plan. Thanks, guys, for watching. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, we're out. See you guys.